The wind off the shivering sea arrived colder and earlier than anyone remembered, driving the first flakes of an unseasonable snow across the battlements of Winterfell. Ned Stark felt each flake as though it were a pinprick of warning from the old gods. He walked the inner wall alone. Maesters would have called it dawn, though the sky was a color between ink and bruised iron, and listened to the creak of hoarfrost forming in the gaps between stone. Below, the godswood's last red leaves quivered like secret tongues, and the heart tree watched him through eyes of bleeding sap. A raven waited on the crenellations, feathers puffed against the cold. The bird had arrived after midnight, scrabbling at the window of the solar until it woke Jory Castle, who woke Ned. The letter it carried lay heavy in Ned's fur-lined sleeve, as if the parchment itself were weighted with iron. He had read it twice by candlelight, once to grasp the facts, and a second time to hear the tone beneath them. There was always a tone, even in a letter from a king. Robert's hand was unmistakable. The pen's strokes snorted and plunged like a warhorse charging a line of pikes, and somewhere between each ragged loop, Ned could almost hear the oligarch breath and the laughter that tried to make a jest of danger. Yet the words were sober. Lord Balon Greyjoy grows restless. Stannis swears he walks his battlements night after night and stares at the horizon, as if waiting for the sea to lift him above every crown in Westeros. Pyke forges more longships than trade warrants. Sail south if you must, but I'd sooner trust a snowblind septon than an ironborn promise. Come to King's Landing, counsel me. Ned had answered Robert's summons often in the years since the rebellion, yet never before dawn. He knew what the king asked without writing it aloud. Bring your honor, bring your quiet voice, and set me straight before I do something foolhardy. Robert was a good man, but his patience with anything that smelled of treason was short, and the memory of Greyjoy banners meeting Baratheon hammers still blistered the realm's conscience. Ned could already feel the shape of the reply that would please the king. I will come. I will stand beside you again. We will quell whatever spark of rebellion Balon thinks to kindle. But when he tried to speak those words to the morning, they stiffened in his throat like corpses left too long in frost. He leaned on the parapet, fingers numbing. Somewhere below, the kitchens would soon ignite their fires, and old Nan would mutter that a year with early snows meant one with late thaws, that the seasons slipped their leashes when men rose against rightful lords. Nan saw portents in every chimney plume, but Ned heard his own conscience beneath her proverbs. Was Balon truly rising, or only brooding upon old defeats? Robert's ravens flew also to Lannisport, Old Town and Gulltown. Not all returned. A king beset by silence's imagined enemies behind each missing feather. Yet Balon had lost 2 brothers holding the Seastone chair, and a third to wild mischance upon the Shield Islands. Men like that seldom forgot, and seldom forgave. Ned lifted the letter once more. When the wind snapped at the parchment, he shielded it with his glove and reread a single line. I would not have war on the waves again. Cersei speaks of fleets and coffers, and the small folks fear. Cersei spoke, and Robert wrote Ned. So Cersei's counsel makes Robert uneasy, Ned thought. And Cersei's counsel meant Tywin's gold whispering from Casterly Rock. The kingdom could not endure another great lord turned pirate-taking. Cersei must have warned. Better break Pyke before more sons of Ironborn learned Balon's restless song. Robert knew that a siege of Pyke would cost men and coin, but he'd pay both rather than sit and watch Greyjoy longships raid the coast. Ned had heard the same reasoning whispered by Winterfell's master of horse, only a fortnight past. The man still remembered the smoke of Lordsport. The glossy black hulls pulled ashore like whale carcasses, the sob of a drowned man praying to a god that would not weep. Yet somewhere in Ned's mind another vision struggled to thaw. A different future, one dreadful in its uncertainty yet shining too with the fragile fire of possibility. It was Theon's laugh he heard first, young, reedy with bravado, echoing through the courtyard as the boy chased Robb beneath banners green with summer. Theon Greyjoy, hostage and ward, had grown these 9 years under Stark roofs. He sparred in the yard, prayed to the old gods when Maester Luwin bade him, though he mocked the notion that trees might listen. The boy? No. The youth nearing manhood, spoke of the sea the way Bran spoke of sky. He would never be a Stark. But he was brother to Ned's sons in every shape save blood. If Ned rode south to counsel Robert and the realm turned once more against the Iron Islands, there would be no shield strong enough to save Theon. Traitors' sons, with traitors' fathers. The certainty chilled him more than the wind. Honor was Ned's shield, but it was also a blade that cut both bearer and foe. Footsteps grated behind him on the wall walk. He knew the stride, measured, cautious of waking every soul in Winterfell. Catelyn came to stand at his side, wool cloak tucked beneath her chin. She looked first at the snowy expanse, then at him, and said nothing of the letter. Ned felt the old ease of their silence. How it soothed the mind more swiftly than words. At length she asked, "Will you go?" "I must," he said, but it sounded like a question. He drew breath to spill Robert's fears and Cersei's whispers, yet paused. Balon moves ships. Stannis sees them. Catelyn's smile was wintered thin. Stannis sees treason in every sail that is not his own. If the Ironborn hammer chains upon their oars, it may be only trade. "Was it you who told me markets thrive in peace?" "Eh," he said. His cheeks warmed despite the frost. "Peace buys more than war spends. But should peace cost Theon's life?" "Mesopotamian." She flinched, not away from him but into the wind, as though bracing herself. If Balon rebels, hostages die. So do fosterlings. Even the king's justice cannot always mend that. Ned lowered his gaze to the snowy bailey, and tried to see the boy not as hostage but as bridging rope between two cliffs. What if the rope might bear more weight than merely its own? He could not picture the Ironborn kneeling to any lord not born of salt and sea. Yet he had glimpsed something in Balon's son, a curiosity for the green lands beyond the Iron Islands, a hunger not wholly quenched by the promise of raid and reaving. Theon might one day return home and tell his father that raiding won only foam while trade won bread. Yet Theon was but one voice in 8 islands. Another thought rose, an untested blade hammered in the forge of the dawn. What if Ned went not to Robert but to Balon? The notion tasted of madness. He nearly laughed. A Stark sailing west, when the realm muttered that the Ironborn armed. Men would call it folly, or worse, treason. Yet there was precedent. He had ridden into the Eyrie once, as a boy of 8, to stand beside Robert Arryn after Jon's untimely fall, and men had said the same. Some gambles bred friendship stronger than steel. "Cat," he murmured. She turned fully then, and their cloaks pressed together. He spoke gently, yet each word felt like riven ice. "I might sail for Pyke first." She did not gasp. Lady Catelyn Stark, born Tully, seldom succumbed to melodrama. Instead, she folded her arms against the cold, against fear, and weighed his face. "Alone?" "With a small escort. Sir Roderick, perhaps Jory and the Maester. A dozen men, no banners." Something within him tightened. "I would bring Theon, to treat with his father. Better the sight of his son than the sword of a stranger," Ned said. "Balon knows me. He remembers the price of rebellion. If he plots again, he must doubt Robert's mercy. Yet he could gain a different ally." "You," Catelyn breathed. Snow caught at her lashes, melting into bright beads that glimmered like tears. "Ned, if the king calls you to court, Robert has many lords who will bellow counsel at him, but the Ironborn have no northern voice. Robert will not wait long. I know it. If war is to be averted, it must be done before he commits to siege. And before Tywin's coffers buy the fleet Stannis lacks." Catelyn said nothing for a long while. The wind gusted, sweeping snow across the tower tops like pale smoke. Then she nodded once, decisive. "You will need a ship fast enough to outrun a storm." Relief pricked Ned with guilt. He placed his gloved hand upon hers. "I will not leave tomorrow. The snows will worsen," she finished for him. "Leave at first thaw, or you may never reach White Harbor. I will write Lord Manderley to ready his swiftest carrack." They descended from the wall in silence, yet footsteps rang louder in the hush than any bells. Ned felt the day's duties close around him like armor. He must speak to Maester Luwin, to Sir Roderick, to Theon himself. But before all, he must kneel beneath the heart tree and ask the old gods whether this path, This unorthodox, perilous path truly served honor. The heart tree answered only in stillness, crimson sap frozen in channels like sleeping blood. T. 2 weeks later, the shivering sea was a sheet of hammered lead beneath a sky clearing toward azure. The Carrack Silver Darling carved her way west, sails full, timbers groaning in the rhythm of heartbeats. Ned stood on the quarterdeck with Wyman Manderley's middle son, Sir Marlon, whose girth matched his father's, but whose gaze was unclouded by politics. Theon lounged at the rail, outwardly bored, though his eyes clung to every crest like a hungry child. Each wave smelled of home. "My lady mother says the currents may be treacherous nearer black tide," Marlon was explaining. "I've ordered the helmsman to skirt south of Old Wyke and come upon Pyke from the leeward side. Fewer reefs." Ned thanked him. The map in his mind unfurled. 8 islands scattered like broken shields in a gray field, each shore lined with basalt teeth. Pyke itself clung to sea-lashed pillars, bridges swaying like spider silk. A place built deliberate to repel invaders. Yet he came not as invader. So he told himself. Theon approached, sea wind rifling his dark hair. He had argued for raiment of Ironborn style, salt-stiffened cloak, kraken brooch. But in the end he wore the gray wool of Winterfell beneath a black surcoat. Still, the sea transformed him. His feet found a sailor's balance, and his voice shed mockery for earnestness. "My lord," he began tentative, "when we reach Pyke, Balon will test you." Ned regarded him. "As he will test you, I imagine." Theon's throat bobbed. "He may call me Stark's pup. If he does, you will answer that you are both Greyjoy and my ward. One need not kill the other." "But no. He may think otherwise." Theon's smile was a tight thing. The Ironborn prize salt and song above all. Their songs tell of old kraken kings who drowned the green lands. Ned watched an albatross wheel overhead. And yet the islands stand small and the green lands vast. A wise king sings a new song when the old drags him into deep water. Theon exhaled, tasting the spray. Balon lost 2 brothers to Robert's fury. He blames the Stormlords and the Lions, but most of all he blames Eddard Stark, whose blade ended Roderick Greyjoy on Pyke's walls. Now, memory stirred, a flash of rain on soda-slick stone, Roderick Greyjoy's shield splintering beneath ice, a man's last breath fishing the air with iron-scented steam. Balon had watched from the sea tower, his screams lost in thunder. Ned's knuckles whitened. "I slew a warrior who would not yield. I slew him clean. If Balon cannot bear that truth, no treaty in the world can help us." "He can bear truth," Theon said softly. "It is pride he cannot bury." Ned nodded. "Then we must teach him another pride, one that rules the sea not with scythes and torches, but with trade and alliances." Theon laughed, surprised at himself. "Teach an Ironborn to trade? We measure wealth in plunder, not coin." "A measure can be remade," Ned replied, though part of him wondered whether trying to remake salt into silver was folly equaled to teaching a ghost to breathe. The sun dropped lower, gilding the water. Sailors shouted as gulls wheeled. Somewhere beneath the deck, the ship's cook hammered open a barrel of pickled cod. The scent mingled with tar and rope and salt. It reminded Ned of Nori villages on the White Knife, of skiffs bringing autumn's catch, of Bran's glee when the nets spilled silver. Dusk found the Carrack gliding past craggy islets where nothing grew but lichen. Lanterns bloomed along the rail. Ned retreated to his cabin to read the draft of a letter he would hand Balon, carefully penned by Maester Luwin and sealed with plain white wax. No threat, no flourish. Only the hard grain of northern candor. "The realm stands on the brink of suspicion. Allow me audience. Let us forge a path deeper than blood debt." Ned traced each line, searching for vanity. He found only hope and necessity. A knock at the door. Sir Roderick entered, beard cloven in its silver point. Lord Stark, the lookout sight torches on the horizon. "Likely Pyke." Ned shoved aside the letter. "How fares the weather?" "Calm, gods be praised. Yet sailors whisper that silence at sea means storms on land." Ned smiled thinly. "Let land bear storms then. I would rather parley on steady planks. De Neberwell. They reached the Iron Islands an hour past moonrise. Watchfires crawled up rock spires like orange serpents, and the roar of surf dinned louder than battle drums. Pyke loomed across a gully of black water, towers joined by bridges trembling under the endless assault of waves. Ned felt the ship roll near a hidden reef. Sailors cursed and trimmed sail. From the quarterdeck, Theon let out a breath so long it might have been exorcism. "Home," he whispered. Ned touched the boy's shoulder. "Let us see if it welcomes you." He turned to Sir Roderick. "Stand the men down. Sword stay sheathed unless mine is drawn." Silver Darling edged into the sheltered sound that served Pyke as harbor. Lanterns shone at the head of a narrow jetty. Figures awaited them, mailed guards with axes, and a tall man armored in boiled leather adorned by yellow krakens. Behind him, another stood robed in green, face pale as driftwood. A priest, perhaps, of the drowned god. A cold shiver crawled Ned's spine. He had fought men who prayed to drowning, but never bargained with them. The gangplank thudded onto the pier. Ned descended first, cloak clasped, sword piece tied. The iron smell of waves crashed against sulphurous rock. The tall armored man stepped forward, and torchlight revealed a gaunt face carved by wind. Eyes deep-set and glinting like wet shale. "Lord Eddard Stark," the man barked. "I am Dagmar Cleftjaw, captain of Lord Balon's Milakeel foam drinker. My lord bids me escort you to the sea tower. Your ship remains watched." Ned inclined his head. "My thanks, captain. I bring only peace." "Peace is a thin cloak in this place," Dagmar said. Yet he gestured for Ned to follow. The procession crossed a bridge of slick boards. Below, waves exploded in white plumes. Theon walked beside Ned, shoulders straight, but his breath quickened whenever the ocean hissed through gaps in the planks. The sea tower's doors opened on iron hinges. Inside, torches painted rusted shadows across walls, etched with swirling krakens. Balon Greyjoy awaited them at the far end of the hall, flanked by two priests whose robes dripped seawater onto the flagstones. The lord's face was leaner than memory, hair flecked with gray salt, cheekbones sharp as reefs. He wore no crown, yet sat upon a chair sculpted of black driftwood, arms carved into curling tentacles. Ned halted 10 paces off and bent the knee, not fully, but enough to acknowledge sovereignty. He felt the weight of every sword lowered behind him. "Lord Balon, I thank you for receiving me." Balon's mouth twitched, a smile or a sneer. "The wolf of the north howls at my gate." Should I not open to hear his plea? "Rise, Stark. Your courtesy will not melt the rock of Pyke." Ned stood. "Courtesy is not my weapon, my lord. Truth is." Balon's brows rose. "Truth?" "The truth I know is that I saw my brother Roderick die beneath your Valyrian steel. The truth I know is that my brother Marin's body lies somewhere in this sea, lost to the caprices of storm while your king feasted his victory. Truth can be a blade, aye, but it cuts only the hand that wields it when the wielder stands alone." Tinapuerto. Ned had rehearsed words on deck, but now they fled, washed away by the hiss of distant surf. So he spoke new words, born in the moment. "I come not to boast of past victories. They haunt me yet. I come to ask whether the Iron Islands would rather carve new graves or new roads." "Den." One of the priests sniffed, offended. Balon leaned forward. "Roads. We are not molemen digging in earth. We are makers of fear on the sea. Roads lead nowhere we wish to go." "They lead to markets," Ned said, voice steady. "Markets lead to coins. Coins buy ships stronger than fear alone." Balon barked a laugh roughened by brine. "You speak nonsense, born of green blood. We buy ships with axe and rope, and lose them to flames and scuttling," Theon interjected. Balon's gaze snapped to his son, and the hall chilled. "Father," Theon said, swallowing, "I have learned much in the north. I have seen how gold buys mail thicker than vows, how trade brings grain through winter storms, reaving winds glory. But glory rots if left to feed only carrion gulls." Silence coiled. Balon's jaw flexed, as though chewing something tough. You return after 9 years to lecture me on rock. Theon bowed his head. I return to serve you, to see the Ironborn feared and respected, not only for terror, but for wealth. Let us take what the Green Lands offer without spilling more blood than we must. Milord. One priest stepped forward, water dribbling from beard. The drowned gods, scripture teaches. What is dead may never die, but rises again, harder and stronger. Blood is the sea's tithe. Ned met the priest's cold gaze. God may demand tithe, but mortal lords choose whether to pay in blood or in coin. Your people fish, do they not? They trade salt cod to the crag and to Lordsport. Those coins feed children just as well as plundered silver. Balon drummed fingers on carved tentacles. You come preaching commerce dark, yet I know the king you serve. Robert waits for excuse to bring fire here again. Does he think my towers have forgotten, or does he send you to beg surrender before the siege begins? Robert does not yet march, Ned said. He hears rumor from Stannis and oath from Cersei. Rumors sharpen swords. I would blunt them before steel drinks blood. Balon's eyes glittered. And what offer do you make in Robert's name? Ned inhaled salt air thick as tar. No offer from Robert. Bull. His scribes do not even know I stand here. I offer alliance from the north. Then? A murmur rippled among the guards. The priests looked to one another, uncertain. Balon's lips parted. Alliance? Between Kraken and Direwolf. He leaned back, laughter swelling like a coming tide. Tell me, Stark, what would the Isles gain from bedding cold wolves? Security in winters that do not starve, Ned answered. A road of grain from White Harbor to Harlaw, ... Ironwood and cedar for your shipwrights, in exchange for salted fish and whale oil without tariffs. Northern garrisons on Pebbleton Keep and Sea Dragon Point to hold the shields of the stony shore. Your lands. Joint patrols against pirates from the Stepstones. And when my bannermen see your banners near their coasts, they will not tighten bowstrings. Now, and in return, you swear not to raid beyond fair trade, Ned said. You turn longships from pillage toward escort. You pay levy equal to the lords of the mainland in time of realm-wide war. And you release the realm from fear, which costs you nothing save restraint. Balon's gaze turned inward, as though sounding depths unseen. Bold, he whispered. Then louder. Bold, and perhaps wise. Yet alliance forged in fear cracks when fear departs. Why should I trust a wolf's promise? Winter starvation may turn you south to feast on my isles. Ned unfastened his cloak. Beneath, against his breast, ice rested, ancient Valyrian steel in a dark scabbard. He drew the great sword 6 inches, just enough for moonlight to kiss the rippling waves swirling in its metal. Gasps rippled. Ned slid it back. On this blade, my house was built. My honor is forged of the same metal. I place that honor in your hall. Break faith, and word of it will reach every holdfast from Skagos to the Arbor. I will be known Oathbreaker, and my sons after me. Do you think I would gamble such legacy on falsehood? Now, Balon's throat worked, drinking the weight of the sword. The weight of a promise heavier than iron. He rose, shoulders square, cloak snapping like a sail. If I said I, King Robert might still sail. He trusts you, but he trusts his own wrath more. Bring me royal parchment bearing the stag's seal, and perhaps I pledge friendship. Without it, you ask me to kneel. Not to kneel, Ned said. To shake a hand extended across ice and salt. The hall's torches fluttered. Outside, waves struck Pyke's pillars with the fury of rams battering a gate that would never yield. Yet something yielded in Balon's eyes, a flicker no priest's sermon could have coaxed. Ned saw grief there, and hunger for a victory that did not smell of ash. Theon's breaths came shallow. He bridged worlds by standing still. Balon took one step down from the driftwood throne. Dark. Remain my guest tonight. At dawn we speak again. I will hear the shape of this road you offer. But know this, Should Robert come with fire regardless, ironborn axes will find red work, and I will hang your banners from my bridges as trophies. Then let dawn bring words sharp enough to crush fire, Ned replied. Balon inclined his head. So be it. He turned, cloak swirling like midnight tide, and strode from the hall. The priests followed, whispers of drowned gospel trailing them. Ned exhaled. The torches seemed brighter now, or perhaps his sight sharpened after tension's haze. He turned to Theon, who still watched the space where his father had stood. A small, tremulous smile began to creep over the youth's lips, equal parts disbelief and desperate hope. Tomorrow, Ned murmured, clasping Theon's shoulder. The hardest voyage begins, and Theon, voice barely more than a breath, answered. Then let us pray to every god that we do not founder before we set sail. Ned thought of the heart tree in Winterfell, the ravens, the snow that would soon bury the world in quiet. He thought of Robert's Alaric laughter and Cersei's cold gold. He thought of Balon's eyes, not yet killed by pride. Somewhere between all these thoughts, hope unfurled like a sail-seeking wind. Outside, the sea roared. Inside, the torches burned late into the night, while wolves and krakens dreamt uneasy dreams of roads unwalked, of storms held at bay, and of the monstrous, fragile thing called peace. P-G-S-Q-L. Ned Stark rose before first light, roused more by the growl of distant surf than by the feeble knock of the servant who had come to lay a hearth fire in his chamber. Sleep had come fitfully. The mattress was stuffed with seagrass instead of straw, and the stone beneath seemed to sway with each wave that battered the sea tower's pillars. But it was not discomfort that woke him so much as the thrum of possibility, the knowledge that in the gray space between promises and dawn, a dozen futures waited to be chosen, and some of them would burn. He dressed in the dimness without calling for Jory or Sir Roderick. Pulling his boots on, he felt the rock floor trembling as surf exploded against the cliff outside, shaking the tower like a giant's hand. The tremor crept up his shins, reminding him that he consorted with men who prayed to shaking earth and drowning water. Still, he strapped on ice and settled his cloak about his shoulders, then opened the narrow door and stepped into a passage smelling of salt and damp linen. A single torch guttered in a bracket, its flame pale blue at the edges. Ned followed the spiral staircase upward, not down, compelled by some instinct to greet the dawn from Pyke's highest point. Each step was slick. He grasped a rusty rail and climbed until the stair pierced a trapdoor and opened onto a windswept roof of black slate. Here the sea raged in 360 degrees. Dawn's first finger of rose gold touched the horizon beyond Old Wick, painting the ragged teeth of rock with ghostly light. Gulls shrieked overhead. Ned inhaled and tasted brine thick as blood. He was not alone. Another figure knelt at the parapet, hood thrown back, face lifted to the wind as if drinking it. A woman, he saw when she turned. Her hair was raven dark and loose, whipping like banners. Her eyes were a bright gray that reflected the sea. She wore a sleeveless jerkin of boiled leather over a chainmail shirt. A rough dagger hilt protruded from her belt. Recognition came. Asha Greyjoy, Balon's only daughter, though she had been but a girl of 10 the last time Ned saw her. The island lords called her Vengeance's Joy behind her back. Rumor had it, for she delighted in every rule she broke. She did not bow. Her smile was wry. The wolf greets the kraken's dawn. Does Winterfell lack its own sunrises? Dana. Winter sun seldom rises over water, Ned replied. I thought to see how a sea-born sun differs. It differs in that it climbs only to drown again. Unlike your sun, which falls into hills of pine and fox. She leaned an elbow on the parapet. I saw you board at midnight. Was your cabin so foul you needed fresh wind before cockcrow? Restless thoughts, Ned said. He studied her stance, relaxed, yet coiled as if ready to vault the wall. You knew I arrived unannounced. Do you think me unwise? Anyone walking into Pyke without a fleet is unwise. But unwise and interesting are cousins, and I respect family. She folded her arms. The priests say your visit sets swords to rust. My father weighs his options like lead ingots, yet they forget one metal the Isles value: steel. Bring gold and well take it. Bring blood and well spill it. Bring steel that cuts the right flesh." She tapped her dagger hilt. "You might teach us something." Ned did not smile. "Steel teaches only death. I hope to teach trade." "Trade?" Her laughter cracked like breaking ice. "Do you trade honor on the mainland? I thought you Northmen spent it all on vows and children." "Oh, honor buys peace," Ned said. "Peace buys time to raise those children. Children are raised by storms here, not peace." Asha turned, letting the wind whip hair across her mouth. "Yet I'll grant. Theon speaks highly of your children. He boasts that young Bran shoots truer than archers twice his age, and that Robb rides like a mounted knight at 15. He boasts as much of you," Ned said. "That you ride even better." "Boast? Ha! Your hostage flatters. He forgets I taught him ropes and sails before he grew whiskers." She sobered. "But I loved him once, in the manner sisters love fierce pups." Imagine my surprise when Pup returned a wolf. "He is still both," Ned said. "Your brother stands at a crossroads. So do your islands." Asha's gaze sharpened. "Speak plainly, Stark. Do you come to chain us or to liberate us?" "I come to offer choice." Ned drew a slow breath. "If you would make the Iron Islands great, choose a greatness that will live beyond the next raid. Let the Ironborn ply every sea, but let them bring back coin instead of ashes." "Nimsal. Coin has no salt," she muttered. "Yet perhaps." She pushed away from the parapet. "Dawn ripens. Father will summon you to break bread in the seaward hall. Word to the wise, priests will try to drown you before you swallow. They call it blessing. I have bathed in colder waters than your blessings," Ned said. It earned him a bark of dry amusement. Asha strode toward the stair but paused. "Euron has returned." The name stiffened Ned's spine. "The Crow's Eye?" "Aye. His silence is a deeper tide than most reckon." She flicked her fingers as though dismissing a pest, but Ned saw unease flash across her face. "If he sits at table, count your cutlery after." With that, she vanished downward, boots clacking. Ned remained a while, letting dawn fully bloom, splashing crimson and peach across clouds that hurried like cattle before a storm. Euron Greyjoy back on Pyke. There lay a serpent in any nest of alliances. Ned descended, passing narrow slits through which light now spilled. The corridors smelled of brine-damp rushes. He found Jory and Sir Roderick in a side room where a sailor was sharpening mess knives. They stood when he entered, questions in their eyes. He waved them off. "All is well for now. Balon means to meet at first meal." Sir Roderick stroked the point of his beard. "Maester Luwin suggests we present him a charter of trade we drew up. Modest tariffs. Clear lanes of passage." Ned nodded. "We will. But mind, Balon wagers pride, not profit. Speak of the respect a ship earns when its crew returns alive, and wealthier than when it left." The door creaked. Theon pushed through, cheeks flushed. "Father's men escort guests to table," he announced, voice brittle with excitement. "Dagmar himself came for us." He glanced at Ned. "Are we ready?" Ned studied him, a youth teetering between two realms. His doublet bore the direwolf pin Robb had gifted him, yet the colors were black and gold. Kraken clashed. "Ready," Ned said. The procession wound through a vaulted gallery whose windows looked out upon white-capped swells. At intervals, iron braziers fought sea wind, casting red light upon shields nailed to the walls. Many bore emblems foreign to the islands: the son of House Dane, the crescent of House Serret, a broken stag that might once have been Penrose. Spoils of past raids, Ned realized. A museum of grudges. They entered the seaward hall. Tables had been laid end to end between carved pillars, strewn with platters of smoked mackerel, fried puffin, and wedges of brown kelp bread. Balon sat at the head on the driftwood throne, priests behind him like lesser crows. To his left lounged a man with long black hair bound by bands of jade. One eye was patched with sable leather. The other gleamed a blue so pale, it seemed nearly white. He smiled languidly as Ned approached. Euron Greyjoy. On Balon's right sat Asha, posture poised, fingers drumming. Men filled benches in clusters, captains and thanes, faces weather-cracked, suspicious. Ned sensed his own retinue fidget at the room's peripheral hostility, but he kept stride toward the high table and bowed at the hips. Sword peace tied. Balon acknowledged with a curt inclination. Lord Stark. Sit, Dari. He gestured to a vacant seat opposite Asha. Break your fast under my roof, bound by salt. Ned sat, and Theon took the place beside him. Ser Roderick and Jory moved to the next bench. A priest stepped forward, holding a ribbed shell filled with seawater. Ned recognized Aeron Damfair, Balon's younger brother, turned fervent preacher. Aeron offered the shell first to Balon, who dipped fingers in and flicked droplets on his tongue. The priest intoned, "Taste the sea that birthed us. What is dead may never die." The phrase rolled over the hall like thunder. Balon passed the shell to Asha, then to Euron, whose pale eye glimmered malicious pleasure as he drank. Ned accepted last, mindful of custom. He tasted brine sharp as knives, resisting the urge to cough. "Now," Balon said, voice carrying, "the wolf bears gifts. Let us hear what price buys an Iron King's leash." Ned wiped lips with a cloth. "I bring no leash, only roads." He produced a folded parchment. Jory slid it across to Balon, who did not touch it. "This outlines mutual benefit. Open harbors in the north, reduced tariffs on whale oil and iron. Furthermore, a guarantee that northern markets purchase surplus cod, herring, and whelk at fair coin rates set each autumn." "Bah!" Laughter rattled. One captain slapped a table. "Northern belly's short of fish, Lord Stark." "Short of crews after winter," Ned replied evenly. "In deep snows men guard hearths. A ship crewed by Ironborn could fetch twice the haul in half the time. Trade is not charity. It is profit for those bold enough to claim it." Balon lifted the parchment, eyes skimming. "What of ships we already claim by right of salt and steel?" "The right of reaving winds spoils," Ned said. "But spoils bring wars. Wars bring sieges, and siege brought your brothers' graves. The right of trade wins coin, and coin arms fleets without forfeit of sons." Murmurs rippled. Asha leaned forward. "And in return we pay taxes like sheep?" "The levy I propose is fixed," Ned said. "A tithe of coin equal to mainland lords. But coin earned freely stings less than coin paid for ransoms." Balon set parchment down. "You speak of coin as though it buys glory." "Glory feeds on memory, my lord. But children feed on bread." Ned held Balon's gaze. "You lost brothers in war. Will you lose sons to famine? By grain, not graves." "Damnation." A hush fell. Euron tapped a pewter goblet. "Pretty words. The mainland wolf brings parchment promises and the taste of peace. But I recall a wolf's taste for flesh." His smile widened. "A year from now, a southern king might whisper different counsel, and we'd find wolf's teeth at our throats. Better the sea's mercies than a wolf's." Theon stiffened. "Southern kings whisper less when ironborn oars beat water outside their gates," he said, then flushed. "My uncle meant no insult, Lord Stark." "An insult is sea spray," Ned answered. "It stings but soon dries." He turned to Euron. "You measure honor by convenience, Lord Euron. A measure miscalibrated yields a crooked mast." Euron chuckled. "My masts bend where they must. But tell me, will your king sign this charter?" "It will bear his seal," Ned said, feeling ice press against his side. "Or the realm will know why not." Balon leaned back, fingers steepled. "If Robert balks, you risk more than disgrace. You risk war. Are you ready to bleed for roads and fish, wolf?" "I am ready to bleed to spare your sons and mine." Ned's voice rang. "The realm forgets too quickly. In King's Landing the court jests, banners bloom anew. But I bury comrades every year whose lungs still drown in smoke from Lordsport. I swore my children would not know such wars." Nedet Piwan. Silence. Balon's eyes narrowed, cutting through decades of smoke and salt. Finally, he spoke. You bring sense heavy as lead. Yet iron-born hearts drift toward storm. Some crave the old way. His gaze flicked to priests. Convince them. Ned swallowed. May I speak to your captains alone? Men who hold sail and steel. I will not sermonize, only promise. Balon gestured. Captain's gallery midday? But know this, if they mutiny in that room, Pyke's cliffs will not weep. He drained a cup of pale ale, then rose. Dawn meal ends. I must weigh tidings. To Euron he said, walk with me. They left through a side arch. Priests trailed behind like shadows. Hall doors boomed shut. Sound rushed back. Clatter of plates. Muttered arguments. Asha rose. Come, she said to Ned. You need see more than halls of driftwood. They quit the feast, trailed by Sir Roderick and Theon. Asha led them through narrow ways carved straight through rock. Salt crystals glittered on walls like frost. She spoke as she walked. Balon tests you, but Euron tempts him. My father likes to think himself flint. Strike, and he sparks the world. Yet Euron is flint wedded to oil. Euron would rule? Sir Roderick asked. Euron would burn. Asha halted at a door banded in rust. She shoved it open. Air rushed in, strong with kelp and tar. Beyond lay a cavern harbor, its roof the belly of the island, its docks torchlit. Longships rocked at moorings, lean hulls painted squid ink black, prows carved into screaming krakens. Men sharpened oars, hoisted nets. Armorers hammered rivets into lamellar shirts. No banners, no drums, yet attention taut as bowstrings. An ironborn fleet, Ned murmured. More than trade warrant. We build always, Asha said. Some would say we build for storm that never breaks. She met his eyes. But if you can turn my father's gaze inland, perhaps these hulls carry timber and not raiders. Yet Euron speaks of a dragon. Ned blinked. A dragon? Some say a dragon stirs in the east. Last of Valyria's children. Euron sailed beyond the sunset sea and claims he glimpsed fire in the water. He promises Balon a beast of sky to hammer crowns. Nonsense perhaps, but men love nonsense when blood sings. Vandero. Ned thought on rumors of Daenerys Targaryen across the narrow sea. She might have hatched no dragons yet, but whispers existed. If Euron courted such rumors, he wielded wildfire of rhetoric. Euron trades lies for loyalty. He trades all. Asha touched the prow of a half-finished ship, caressing salt-oiled wood. So you must trade hope heavier than awe. She led them through the cavern, past smithies where sparks danced like orange insects. At a smaller dock, 2 fishing skiffs bobbed. She pointed. Trade begins with small keels. Show these men a fisherman's coin can outshine a warrior's plunder, and you'll bind them stronger than any vow. Nagaseus. Theon stepped near the water, eyes glimmering. I fished these tides with my uncles. The catch is rich in summer. Then speak of it at midday, Asha said. Let them hear Greyjoy blood extol a net over a sword. Theon hesitated. They may call me wolf still. Bite back, she advised softly. But remember which teeth draw blood. She faced Ned. You'll have my voice in the gallery if it sways any who follow me. But not all do. Ned bowed his head. Your aid is worth ships. She laughed. You think I give it free? No, Wolf, I bargain. Should your charter stand, my captains gain first rights on White Harbor's salt market. Agreed? Granted, Ned said without pause. Then we sail the same tide. She extended her hand. It was calloused, nicked by ropes. He clasped it. Her grip was firm as a smith's. They parted. Asha melted into shadows between hulls. Ned led his men back into corridors where braziers fought damp. His mind churned. Euron's presence, Asha's calculus, Balon's grief. Noon would test him more than any battlefield. Jory spoke quietly. My lord, these walls echo. We should plan in safer quarters. Agreed. Ned found a deserted side chamber where tapestries rotted from salt dye. They gathered. Theon, Sir Roderick, Jory, Master Lewin. Ned outlined the schedule, midday council in the captain's gallery. Each captain to receive a copy of the charter. Lewin would speak on winter grain shortages, Sir Roderick on timber trade, Theon on honor, unbroken by commerce. An Ironborn's pride lies in reaving, Lewin warned. If we strip that pride, they will revolt. Then redefine pride, Ned said. Call it mastery of sea lanes none can rival. Theon squared shoulders. I will speak of old victories and new horizons. He paused. But we must watch Euron. He will plant doubt. Ned nodded. Euron fears coin more than swords. His power thrives on chaos seas churn. They consulted maps scratched on vellum, marking proposed routes. Pyke to White Harbor, Harlaw to Deepwood Motte. They drafted a seal of mutual defense. Northern garrisons allowed on Sea Dragon Point Fort, Ironborn patrols along the Sunset Sea. By late morning the parchment ink had barely dried when Dagmar Cleftjaw arrived. Iron-kissing knuckles. Captains, assemble. The captain's gallery perched above a natural amphitheater of stone, roof open to sky. Benches rimmed three sides, the fourth overlooked surf that slammed rock mere feet below. 40 longship captains gathered, men gaunt and scarred. Some wearing scalecoats salted white. Balon sat center on a simple chair, not throne, flanked by priests. Asha stood behind him. Euron draped himself on a bench to one side, arms spread like wings, amused. Ned and his retinue entered. Gulls screamed overhead. A spray of foam drifted through open arches, speckling parchment Ned carried. He waited until hush dropped, then stepped forward. Captains, he began, voice amplified by the sea's natural bowl. I stand a stranger in the house of Krakens, yet I bring no shackles. I bring sailcloth uncut, iron unhammered. You may shape them as you will, in peace, or melt them in war's forge and lose both. A bearded captain spat. We shape wealth with axes, Northling. An axe speaks truer than a coin. An axe speaks for a breath, Ned said. A coin speaks for generations. He unfolded the charter. Read. Trade lanes protected by both our banners. Grain when seas run lean, masts when storms snap yours. Coins that jingle heavier than rating's risk. He tossed a leather pouch onto the center table. It clinked heavy. 50 silver stags, my own purse. Pay for a pilot's map to the shivering sea. Navigate new waters and return thrice that. Murmurs. Balon watched expressionless. Aeron Damfair stepped forward, hair dripping. The drowned god gives us salt plunder. He does not count coins. 9 more. Does he count widows? Maester Lewin asked. Last winter a fever swept Harlaw. Without maesters, 3 children of Captain Gorold Goodbrother died. The hall shifted. A man near the back bowed his head. Lewin continued. White Harbor's healers can ride my lord's roads in summer. Sail your own ships in spring. A healer saves more sons than any priest. A captain with a gold tooth barked. Heal. We are Ironborn. We drown and rise again. Then heal so you may drown less, Theon cut in. All eyes pivoted. He strode forward, voice ringing. My blood is salt and wolf both. I have raided seas with you in memory, though my oar rests these 9 years. I remember screams of burning towns, and I remember the shame of defeat. Defeat is a wound that salt cannot close. Would you open it anew? Some growled. Theon's jaw tightened. I say, let us raid markets. Let gold from Old Town to Gull Town kneel to Krakens, because we move grain, ironwood, and smoked eel faster than any. Let our longships fly merchant flags by day and war flags by night if slighted. Let mainland boys sing songs of Ironborn captains who robbed them blind but left their houses standing. For a tax paid is cheaper than a corpse buried. Mao, a captain shouted, tax is coward's pay. Coward. I watched Dagmar Cleftjaw charge Storm's End with nothing but harpics and fire. I watched him lose a cheek to a mace and still laugh. If he marches with coin now, will you name him Craven? Theon paused. Courage is not theft. Courage is daring to build as well as burn. Dagmar barked laughter. The pup has teeth. Euron yawned theatrically. Teeth dull when fed porridge. Ned stepped beside Theon. Then feed them iron, he said, unsheathing Isa handspan. This steel carved your shield 9 years past, Captain Drum. Touch it now, and know it is sheathed when respect is given. Unsheathed when broken. He slid the blade home. Choose sheath. Drum glowered but nodded. Wind picked up, keening through arches. Balon stood. Enough. I hear 2 winds. One of old salt, one of new coin. Which fills your sails? Captains eyed one another. Asha spoke. Let each voice weigh. One by one captains declared, some in gravel tones for reaving, some in wary voices for trade. Surprising even themselves, more drifted toward Ned's proposal than against. Euron's pale eye narrowed as he tallied allies lost. When the final voice echoed off stone, balance tipped. 23 captains for trade alliance. 13 for old way. 4 undecided. Balon exhaled like a forge, heatless. Majority favors roads. Aeron hissed, the gods. The gods drown those who deafen themselves to tide's turn. Balon's words cut. He faced Ned. Ink your charter with my seal beside yours. But warn Robert, should he betray this pact, Krakens will strangle the north before his ravens flap. Ned bowed. So sworn. He produced wax, seal, and quill. Asha fetched a brazier. Balon set his ring, a kraken crest, into red wax upon the parchment beside Ned's direwolf. Applause rose, hesitant, then stronger. Even among holdouts, curiosity gleamed. Then came the thunder of approaching boots. A guard burst through the archway, face wild. Lord Balon. Sails, red and gold, on the horizon. Ned's blood chilled. Red and gold. Lannister. Euron's smile broke like dawn on dagger edges. Balon barked. How many? 10 galleys, maybe more. Flying a lion standard, heading for Lordsport. Captains surged. Some shouted fear, others eagerness. Ned forced calm. Lannister ships in ironborn waters can mean only threat. But we signed peace this breath. Let us meet them with words first. Euron laughed. Words? Lions roar? Krakens drown? Better drown them now than listen to roars. Balon hesitated. All eyes on him. Ned stepped forward. Send me as envoy. Let us test this pact in first hour. You? Euron scoffed. The lion will skewer you on golden spears. If so, war begins with lion's blood on Kraken's rock, Ned said. But if not, we spare blood. He locked eyes with Balon. Lord, if you break fresh seal now, you prove doubters right. Show them a new way. Asha leaned in. Father, let the wolf speak. Lions know his voice. Balon's jaw worked. At length he nodded. Take 2 long ships, Black Wind and Foam Drinker. Approach under my banner and yours. If lions fire before you speak, my captains sail behind. Ned bowed. Agreed. Within moments the gallery erupted into ordered chaos. Captains barked to crews, runners sped down corridors. Ned conferred with Theon and Asha. Foam Drinker is Dagmar's ship, Asha said. She rose. Swift. Theon offered to accompany. Ned consented. Sir Roderick protested, but accepted seat as guard on Foam Drinker. Jory would remain on Pyke to safeguard retreat. They made haste to the cavern harbor. Black Wind and Foam Drinker lay ready, oars shipped, black hulls sleek. Sailors swarmed rigging. Ned boarded Black Wind, feeling deck roll under boot like restless stallion. Theon stood at prow, eyes shining equal parts dread and thrill. Dagmar Cleftjaw, on Foam Drinker, raised his axe in salute. Trumpets of conch shells blared. The long ships slid from harbor into open sea, oars churning in seamless rhythm. Great swells lifted bows. Spray drenched Ned's cloak but chilled deeper fear. Ahead, through morning haze, masts sprouted like bare trees. 10, 12. Slender southern galleys painted crimson, banks of oars flashing. Golden lions on crimson sails billowed. Theon muttered, "Lannister war galleys. They came fast." Ned signaled white cloth of parley. Foamdrinker echoed. The galleys closed line abreast, oars biting hard. Silver trumpets sounded. Ned's ship slowed, steering to center gap. 2 Lannister ships peeled forward, banners streaming. Across wave troughs a command deck appeared. Knights in gilded helms, archers with bows half drawn. A herald in scarlet cloak cupped a horn. A voice boomed. "In the name of Lord Tywin Lannister, Hand of the King, stand and be searched." Ned raised his own horn. "I am Eddard Stark, Lord of Winterfell, hand before Tywin. I sail under parley to speak." Shock rippled visible across enemy decks. Murmured conference behind shields. Then a reply, "Approach single ship. Lay down arms." Ned ordered Black Wind row forward alone. Foamdrinker held back, oars poised. Archers on both sides tracked. The 2 vessels closed until yards apart. A plank was extended, trembling above froth. Ned walked it, ice at side, cloak heavy with spray. Opposite, a Lannister knight met him. Tall, red-haired, green-eyed armor chased with roaring lions. Ser Jaime Lannister, Kingslayer Tordate. Jaime removed helm, golden hair plastered damp. "Well met, Stark. Last I saw you, we argued at court over whose wine was fouler." His smile was razor. "Sir Jaime, you sail far west." Demtor. On King's business, Lord Tywin received reports of ironborn ships harassing Westerland's trade. "We come as reminder, the sea is not theirs." Ned kept voice level. "Reports travel crooked. I hold pact with Balon Greyjoy to end raids. You meet first day of that peace." Jaime's brows rose. "Peace between wolf and kraken. My sister will gnash teeth to hear." He glanced beyond at Foamdrinker's crimson-red oars. "Yet Lannisters hold debts owed. Ironborn burned Lannisport 9 years back. We lost fleet. Lord Tywin means to inspect their new builds. Precaution. Nebjet. Inspection with 10 warships equals threat," Ned said. "Stand down, sail to Pyke. Parley under Balon's roof. Sea charter." Jaime considered. "I smell Tywin's doubt. But I know Robert. He will like your treaty if it keeps his crown quiet." He turned, gestured to an officer. "We hold line here while I parley. 1 ship against 2, fair." Ned motioned. Foamdrinker rowed closer, Dagmar raising eyebrows. Jaime crossed plank to Ned's deck, bringing only 1 guard. Wind whipped both cloaks. "Tell me, Stark," Jaime said quietly, "why gamble your neck with krakens? They'll slip knives and spines at first lull." Then let them try," Ned said. "But hope is blade sharper than treachery." Jaime laughed. "Hope is rust." Yet he sobered. "Very well. I sail to Pyke under flag of truce. If your peace holds, father returns east, -1 headache. If it fails, war," Ned finished. "A war you will own." Jaime clapped shoulder. "Let us test this peace. Mayhaps the realm tires of funerals." He returned to his ship, barked orders. Trumpets blared. The Lannister line adjusted formation, 5 remaining galleys holding picket while Jaime's flagship steered toward Pyke, escorted by Black Wind and Foamdrinker. Oars dipped. Sails trimmed. Spray glittered like shards of glass in midday sun. As cliffs of Pyke reared, Ned felt weight lift fractionally. A first test survived by talk rather than slaughter. Yet inside he knew storms nested still. Euron's plots, priest's zeal, Tywin's suspicion. Peace was a rope across chasms, swaying with every gust. They moored at harbor. Jaime stepped onto Pyke's jetty, armored boots clanging. Balon awaited with Asha, captain's rank behind. Priests flanked like dripping pillars. Jaime bowed exaggeratedly low. "Lord Balon, I deliver greetings from Lord Tywin. We come not for war, but for caution." Balon's eyes flicked to Ned. Ned advanced. Lord Balon has signed charter with Winterfell. King Robert will countersign upon return of my raven. I ask safe hall for Jaime Lannister to view terms. Balon's lips thinned. Lion under my roof. Very well, but no blades drawn in hall. Jaime unbuckled sword, handed to Squire. I prefer quills today. Procession wound toward hall. Crow's Eye watched from balcony above, smile knife thin. Ned met his gaze, storm clouds gathered there. Euron vanished into shadow. In the great hall, maps spread across tables under torchlight. Jaime read charter, brow arching at each provision. Reasonable, he admitted. I see tariffs favor north, but Ironborn get timber and grain. Clever wolf. To Balon he said, sign this, send copy to Casterly Rock. My father may yet drink to your health. Balon's jaw flexed. I seek not Lion's favor. You seek survival. Jaime murmured. Then louder. I'll bear word to Lord Tywin. Meanwhile recall, the Rock forgets no debts. Nah. Negotiations continued for hours. Haggling shipping lanes, right of salvage, hostage exchange. Jaime suggested a yearly tourney at Seaguard to celebrate peace. Ironborn captains to test blades in honorable combat rather than raids. Ned agreed. Priests objected. Balon waved them silent. When quills scratched final lines, parchments sealed with wax. Direwolf, Kraken, Lion Dada. 3 predators bound by ink. Evening cast violet across windows. Torches flared. Jaime prepared to depart at dawn. Ned sought solitude in a side alcove, where sea's roar steadied heartbeats. Theon found him there. You changed worlds today, my lord. Theon's voice trembled with pride. I only nudged a wheel, Ned said. It may still roll into chasm. Even if it does, Theon said. I saw Ironborn cheer trade. I saw Lannister treat with Greyjoy. My father, he looked proud of you, Ned said. You spoke truth. Theon swallowed. Thank you for giving me chance. Ned clasped his shoulder. Your choices now carve road ahead. Guard it. Miss None. They returned to hall where captains drank cautiously with Lannister envoys. Euron absent. Ned's unease deepened. He asked a servant. None had seen Crow's Eye since noon. That night Ned slept little. Dreams of waves swallowing roads roused him thrice. At dawn a bell clanged frantic. He bolted upright, hand on ice. Outside corridor feet pounded. Jory burst in. My lord, phone drinker aflame. Asha reports sabotage. Jaime's flagship stolen. Ned raced to battlements overlooking harbor. Horror greeted him. Foam drinker's prow spewed flame, black smoke curling. Sailors fought fire with buckets as tar-coated hull hissed. Nearby, a Lannister galley bobbed. Jameis, oars swirling outbound without him aboard. On quarterdeck a figure in black leather with a fluttering sable patch stood arms spread. Euron Greyjoy. Beside him flailed a bound shape. Jaime Lannister, gagged. Euron cupped hands to mouth, voice carrying over waves like a raven's croak. A gift for the Kraken King, a lion to drown and a war to crown. He laughed, a sound of breaking glass, and the galley pivoted toward open sea. Lannister banners hauled down, replaced by a black-on-red Kraken eye. Balon stormed onto parapet, aghast. Captains bellowed. Ayo! Ned's gut iced. One mad act could shatter fragile alliance. He turned to Balon. Send longships. Cut him off before open water. Balon's face twisted. He is my brother. He is war, Ned said. Asha appeared, sword in hand. I'll take Black Wind. We can catch him before deep water. She locked gaze with Balon. Father. Balon's mouth opened, closed. Then he nodded. Bring the lion back breathing. Euron, alive if fate allows. Ned spun toward stairs. I sail with you? No. Balon gripped his arm. You remain. If parley fails, only you hold treaty's words. His eyes burned. Save my daughter. I will muster others." Ned hesitated, agony ripping. Foam drinker still blazed, a skull of fire on water. Theon clutched bow, looking torn. Ned clasped his ward. "Go with her. Guard your sister." Theon nodded, fierce. They dashed away. Ned watched black wind launch, oars digging. Beyond the harbor mouth, Euron's stolen galley raised crimson sails newly struck with sigil of a crow's eye wreathed in flames. Wind favored him. Hours dragged as longships vanished beyond horizon. Ned paced walls, every boom of surf a drum of dread. Balon conferred with priests, voice low thunder. Raven penned scratched messages to Robert, to Casterly Rock, to White Harbor, sabotage, pustage, pursuit. Dusk settled, uneasy crimson. Still, no sails returning. Ned returned to quarters, wrote notes to Caitlin. "Peace trembles. Pray to gods. Hold north ready but calm." He sealed them but delayed dispatch, yearning for news. Finally, near moonrise, horns sounded. Ned raced to cliffs. Lanterns bobbed on waves. Black wind limped into harbor, sail shredded, oars broken. Dagmar's remaining crew rowed. Ned descended to pier in rush. Asha leapt onto planks, face smeared with soot, eyes blazing grief. "We lost him," she rasped. Wind turned foul. Euron steered through breaker rocks, only madmen sail. "We lost 2 longships, men drowned." Tears seeped salt. The lion still captive. Balon arrived. He took in ruin, daughter's wounds, haze of smoke on horizon. His fists clenched. Euron means to provoke realm. Asha spat blood. Then drown him. Balon looked to Ned. "Peace stands on edge of dagger. Tell Robert. Greyjoy hunts traitor, returns lion, pays Weregild." He swallowed ash. "Give me that chance." Ned met his gaze. A king begging, pride bowed. "I will buy you time," he said. But realm's patience thins. They carried wounded ashore. Fires of foam drinker finally guttered. Night deepened. In darkness, Ned stood alone on seawall, listening to waves gnaw rock. The fragile road he built, already cracked, under one man's madness. Yet captains had tasted prophet's hope. Would they cling to it, or chase blood? Behind him, Pyke's towers loomed like shattered crowns, torches burning in windows like eyes that never slept. Somewhere out upon black water, Jaime Lannister prayed to living or drowned gods, while Crow's eye charted chaos. Ned tightened cloak. Tomorrow he would send ravens, draft pleas, ready for roots of conflict he hoped to sever. But tonight he stared into ocean's void and whispered a prayer to old gods and new. "Let roads endure waves. Let children outlive fathers. Let peace prove deeper than war's abyss." The sea answered only with its endless hungry roar. Manhinashdao. Sequel. The spray that night rose so cold and sharp, it felt as though the sea itself had grown teeth. Ned Stark lingered on the seawall, long after the wounded had been carried to their pallets, and the last sparks had hissed out on Foamdrinker's smoldering ribs. In the darkness, Pyke's bridges groaned like old timbers straining under the weight of too many broken oaths, and every gust that whistled through the arches seemed to carry a different half-heard threat. Stannis' suspicions, Tywin's pride, Robert's temper, Cersei's whispers. Somewhere in that layered cacophony, Euron's laughter fluttered, bright as a raven's caw but more cruel. A sound that might have been born to mock every careful bargain Ned had forged since setting sail from White Harbor. Behind him the citadel bell tolled the hour. Each iron note rolled across the surf and shattered against the far pillars. Ned had always believed sound died in the open air. Tonight he felt it merely reached a point where men's ears could no longer follow, then curved back upon itself, echoing forever, bare and restless as the salt wind. He pressed his elbows to the stone and watched the black water churn, wondering how many promises had already sunk beneath the waves before dawn had come to claim them. Footsteps approached. He did not have to turn to know them. Roderick Castle walked with a slight drag of the left boot, the one that had never healed straight from that tourney fall near Barrowton. The old knight halted a respectful pace away, letting the silence breathe before speaking. "No word from the hunt," Sir Roderick said. "Maester Lewin worries for Theon. The boy carries wounds enough in his soul without adding seafire scars to his skin." "Demon?" Ned exhaled mist. "Asha will not let him drown. She will lose her own blood first." "A fierce girl," Roderick said, and Ned could hear the reluctant admiration in his tone. "Too fierce for Pyke, mayhap. But good steel bends before it breaks." He paused, rough beard catching the starlight. And you, my lord? Will you bend?" The question hovered like frost. Ned studied the barricades bobbing on the harbor's mouth. Half-charred timbers laced by struggling sailors to deter any midnight incursion. The barricades already looked weary, wave-gnawed. Finally he answered, "I cannot bend on honor, Roderick. But honor has more facets than men allow. I do not break oaths by giving Robert time to weigh peace. I do not break vows to Cat by keeping Theon from a noose. Yet I fear I break something, even so." Roderick laid a gloved hand on Ice's hilt, not grasping, only acknowledging the presence of the ancient blade at Ned's hip. "Steel that bites the air too long grows brittle," he murmured. "Let Maester Lewin start those ravens. Delay is enemy to all sides now." Ned nodded. Together, they descended uneven steps carved into the cliff's face. Lanterns flickered along the path, haloed by sea spray. When they reached the Maester's cell, Lewin was already hunched over a narrow table littered with parchment, sand, and 3 identical drafts of the same letter. His quill skittered between them like a frantic insect. The Maester looked up, eyes reddened by sleeplessness. "I have done my best to spare details that might inflame," Lewin said without preamble. "Yet Lord Tywin accepts no half-measures. If Jaime's capture is mentioned, war may ride the ravens back before it clears the rookery." "We cannot lie," Ned said. "Nor can we conceal. Write the truth as we know it. A rogue captain, Balon's brother, seized the Lord Commander of Robert's Kingsguard. While violating the king's parley, Balon disavows the act and has dispatched ships in pursuit. Our treaty stands." "What of Robert?" Lewin asked. "The king's rage at the taking of his friend's brother, at his queen's twin, may make Lord Tywin's fury seem gentle." Ned felt weariness settle through his bones as deeply as any frost. "We plead to Robert's better angels. Jaime yet lives. He is not maimed, not as far as we know. Tell Robert that his hand stands between war and realm, and will hold the gates until his own decision is made." The Maester nodded slowly. "And to Winterfell? Write Caitlin of my safety, but tell her the truth of the danger. Ask her to keep faith, and keep the north calm. Wild rumor will reach our bannermen soon enough. She can answer rumor with fact." "Demn." Lewin adjusted spectacles with shaky fingers. "That leaves one more raven," he said, voice nearly a whisper. "To Stannis." Ned hesitated. Stannis Baratheon, master of ships, eternal accountant of wrongs, would be measuring each lost Lannister galley with an abacus of iron and salt. "Send to Dragonstone," Ned said at last. "Inform him of Euron's piracy and of Balon's condemnation. Appeal to his sense of law. The Ironborn have punished traitors before without Stannis' fleet. We ask only delay, not mercy." Many. Sir Roderick handed over seals. Deerwolf, Kraken, broken sword of ancient Stark kings. Lewin spread warm wax, stamped each scroll, then bound them with slender cords. When the last raven beat upward into a sky silvered by half a moon, Ned felt the faintest easing in his chest, as though some invisible rope had been loosened around his ribs. Yet relief was stolen before it could root. Horns sounded beyond the towers. Single blast, repeated thrice. The signal for approaching sails. Ned strode to a narrow archway facing the western reach. Torchlight glanced across dipping masts. The first of Balon's pursuit squadrons returning, but not in triumph. Only 4 longships where 7 had departed, and 2 of those trailed crippled oars like broken wings. Balon Greyjoy met the survivors at the far pier. Ned arrived in time to watch wounded sailors lifted in slings and blood running black in torch glow. One captain, Tormund Pyke, Ned recalled, sank to his knees, helmet lost, hair matted with tar. He clutched a severed hand to his chest, its fingers still curled around invisible oar handles. Balon stood over him, eyes hollow. "Did you sight Black Wind?" he demanded. "Lost in the sound that skirts Harlaw," Tormund rasped. "Euron turned into squalls no sane man would chase." Two longships broke on Hidden Reef, another driven aground on the Iron Holt. The wolf girl pressed on. "Last we saw, her mast held but her sail was ribbons. Gods know where tide cast her." Ned's breath shortened. Theon and Asha in a squall, braving reefs marked only on Ironborn charts. He forced dread aside. Tasks still beckoned. "My men will help treat the wounded," he told Balon. "Then we must speak." Balon said nothing, but his shoulders slumped, brittle as driftwood in a winter gale. The rest of that night blurred into blood, salt, and lantern smoke. Ned stitched more than one gash with his own hands when healers flagged. Maester Leuven heated wine coppers for cauterizing. Roderick and Jory hauled barrels of fresh water until their legs buckled. Somewhere in the corridors, Aeron Damfair muttered prayers half-drowned by the slap of mopheads clearing gore. Dawn arrived exhausted, pale, reluctant. Ned staggered into an antechamber near the Sea Tower's base, where a solitary brazier struggled against drafts. When Balon entered, the once proud Kraken Lord looked less a king, and more a man riven by storms. Salt crystals encrusted his cloak. His eyes were twin hollows. "You see now the cost of trusting wolves," Balon said, though his tone lacked heat. "Euron's treachery born of envy for a treaty not his. Yet the realm will blame Kraken's entire." Ned leaned against a pillar slick with condensation. "The realm will blame the man who took Jaime. Prove you are not that man. Keep your captains steady. Promise gold to families who lost sons in this night's madness. Show them you remain their lord." Balon's voice cracked. "Gold buys nothing when grief is fresh. Buys bread when grief hardens into hunger," Ned countered. "And bread feeds anger until it can grow into purpose." He inhaled, feeling lungs rasp. "We must plan for what comes. Robert's reply may arrive in days. Tywin's galleys will not stay idle long. If they come in force, Pyke will withstand." Balon interrupted. "These rocks have broken fleets before yours was dreamt of. But your people will pay," Ned said gently. "And the realm with them. Euron aims to break more than Ironborn pride. He seeks to ignite every grudge at once. We must take his spark away." Balon's eyes narrowed. "How? When he sails storms no man can follow?" Ned straightened. "Men cannot. Ravens can. Euron has a pattern. He raids the unguarded, hoards the rare, flaunts fear. He will hide Jaime only where he may boast of the taking. Think like a reaver. Where would a man craving legend more? Somewhere the realm's rumors grow longest. Nin? The Arbor, Balon guessed. Or far Lessene coves." Ned shook his head. "Too southern, too many warships. He would be trapped. No. Euron will stay in waters he knows best. Between rocks and storms." Ned tapped the map hanging on damp plaster. "Skagos, too icy, wrong faith. The Lonely Light, too remote. No audience to hear his crow calls. Shield Islands perhaps. But I wager he steers for Fair Isle. Lannisport's memory haunts him. Taunting its healer lures Tywin's wrath." Balon studied the map. Fair Isle lay west of the Westerlands, marking the hinge where Sunset Sea bent toward the Summer Sea. A natural anvil upon which Iron and Lion might clash. "If he holds Jaime there," Balon said slowly, "Tywin will sail, Robert will rage, Stannis will scent treason. The Isles become anvil indeed." "Then we strike first," Ned said. "A swift task force. Ironborn fastest hulls. One northern longship with my standard. We intercept Euron before his missives spread. We retrieve Jaime. We present him alive to Tywin and Robert alongside our charter. Peace hammered on anvil of risk, but peace that glitters." "Manao and Al." Balon rubbed eyes, then surprised Ned by nodding. "You think his raider might? Very well. I will give you Sea Dragon, my finest courier keel, and choose captains loyal to road not raid." He paused. "And myself?" "Stay," Ned urged. Hold Pyke. If Tywin's scouts spy Kraken Sail's absent lord, they suspect trick. Show your throne is not empty. Empty, Balon echoed, weariness folding each syllable. Very well. Choose men.y. Dawn after next tide you sail. I will prepare writs naming you envoy of both Greyjoy and Stark. His voice hardened a shade. If you fail, I renounce charter. Ironborn will fight beneath black sails again. Ned accepted the terms. When Balon left, he sagged against wall, feeling the stones bite through cloak. 2 dawns, time enough to gather food, mend sails, pray Asha or Theon return. Time enough for ravens to outfly disaster? Perhaps. But the rope tightened again. That afternoon, an onshore gale spattered Pyke's courtyards with spume. Ned oversaw loading of sea dragon, casks of pickled fish, coils of rope, sealed letters, 2 chests of silver trade bars stamped with kraken and direwolf. He chose crew carefully. Volunteers from those captains who had endorsed the charter, tempered by a handful of northern oarsmen, from Silver Darling to Signal Unity. Roderick would accompany as shield knight. Jory would remain behind to protect Winterfell's interests at Pyke. Maester Lewin, though eager, was ordered to stay. A Raven Master was needed on the rock more than at sea. As torches brightened against rising dusk, Ned stood at dock's edge, gazing into the waters where Black Wind had slipped away. He pictured Asha's determined scowl, Theon's youthful swagger hiding flickers of fear. Wherever that ship fought storm, he prayed it had found a lee. When the answer came, it arrived on wings, not oars. Near midnight, the watch spotted a lone raven buffeted by headwind. Luvin coaxed it down, untied a sodden scrap. Ned read by lantern. Storm broke mast. We grounded on Shatterstone Cove, south of Harlaw. Survivors 8 Tuath. Theon alive, wounded leg. We limped by oar for Hammerhorn and aimed to re-rig. Euron vanished into West Gale. Pursuit impossible without repair. Send aid if treaty stands. Asha Greyjoy. Relief warred with new anxiety. Black Wind crippled but afloat. Crew, alive at Tar. Theon breathing. Yet they were days from Pyke by broken sail, and Sea Dragon needed to launch soon. Ned sent ravens to Asha, promising rescue, to Hammerhorn's lord, Benedict Farwind, ordering safe harbor and supplies for Black Wind. Then he sought sleep, though dreams came thin and sleepless all the same. Dawn smelled of rust and salt weeds. Ned mounted Sea Dragon's quarterdeck as lines were loosed. 42 oars dipped, cutting the lead-gray water with the rhythm of a blacksmith's hammer. Roderick stood watch beside the helmsman, base set like chiseled granite. 2 other longships, a cutter named Tidemark, and a broader merchant galley rechristened Grain Road, fell in behind, captained by men Asha had vouched for. Above them cracked new banners, Direwolf clasping Kraken on a pale field. Strange sight, yet stirring. They cleared Pyke's shadow by mid-morning and hit true swells 2 leagues out. The ocean felt vast in a way Ned had forgotten, heartsick and magnificent simultaneously. Gulls dwindled, replaced by storm petrels skimming white crests. The helmsman kept north-northwest, angling past Deepwood, Mott's distant forests. Days blurred into constant heave of deck, salt-crusting lips, gull-winged clouds racing inland. At night, Ned conferred with Roderick beneath awning, tracing progress on sea charts. Each dawn, watchers scanned horizons for lion sails or crow-patched banners. None appeared, yet tension tugged every rope. On the 5th sunrise, wind veered south, brisk and fair. Sea Dragon unfurled coarse flax sail, a Kraken direwolf device stitched by Pyke seamstresses in a single fevered night. The ship leapt like a freed hound. Waves slapped hull with jubilant growls. Spirits lifted. Even Roderick allowed a smile, though his hand never left sword's hilt. By midday, they sighted the low gray bluffs of Fair Isle, jagged silhouettes where seabirds circled in screaming gyres. Mist gathered around the headlands, cloaking any harbors that might shelter a galley the size Euron had taken. Tidemark's captain, a scar-eyed ironborn named Jarvan, signaled with pennants. Smoke to west, faint. Ned studied through spyglass, a thin smudge above an inlet south of Faircastle. Could be hearth smokes. Or burning sails. They closed cautiously. The inlet revealed itself as a natural basin. Walls of black slate riddled with caves. At its mouth lay a sandbar exposed by ebb tide. On that bar a war galley rested, careened on her side, ragged masts jutting like snapped bones. Lions once roared on those tattered sails. Now they were slashed to ribbons. Oars shipped. Sea Dragon drifted near. Ned saw no crew, only fragments of shattered weapon racks, barrels smashed open, spilled oranges bobbing in tide pools. Jaime's flagship, but empty. A red haze tinged water at stern. Gulls argued over remains. Euron's calling card. Ruin without reason. They anchored chest deep out, boarded skiffs. Roderick led boarding party up listing deck. Ned followed, heartbeat loud. They found traces of fierce fight. Arrow shafts embedded in mast, blood spray on rail, helm dented inward like rotted fruit. But no body save one, a Lannister archer lashed to mainmast, eyes pecked away, sigil of the lion sewn shut across mouth with copper wire. On his chest, a message carved by knife. The eye sees. Ned's skin crawled. Roderick muttered a curse older than old Nan's tales. Grainroad's healer crossed himself. They searched hold, plundered. The strong box smashed, scrolls trampled, casks drained. Jaime Lannister nowhere. On deck, Jarvan raised a shout. Fresh tracks in sand leading inland. Heavy boot prints, some dragging prisoner. A short council convened, wind flapping torn sail. Ned decided. Send a dozen landward beneath Jarvan to follow tracks. Roderick would lead 5 into caves to rule out ambush. Ned remained on Sea Dragon to coordinate, though every nerve screamed to wield ice beside his men. Hours passed. Offshore swells thickened. Storm clouds marched from southwest. At dusk Jarvan's party returned, burdened by misery. They found a hill, hollowed by charcoal burners, a crude ring fort abandoned morning past. There on a pole, another corpse swung. A fair-haired man stripped of armor, a golden hand clasped around his own neck by iron collar. But not Jaime. Only a Lannister knight who bore similar mien. Euron's mockery of recognition. Message etched on shield. The debt grows. Roderick's cave search proved no better. They found stashes of plunder, bolts of Myrish silk, silver cups, stamped with the crane of House Redwine, sacks of Dornish spice. Euron's crew had cached rather than carried, a sign they meant to return. But not yet. Night brought tempest. Sea Dragon rode anchor, yawing as wind shrieked through rigging. Ned had paced quarterdeck until waves slopped over planks and forced retreat below. In his narrow cabin, lantern swinging, he penned furious lines in his journal, thoughts too bitter for letters. A map of Euron's mind, cycles of violence, gestures tailored to ignite feuds. He realized then that Crow's Eye did not merely rebel. He choreographed discord, playing foes like fiddles. Come morning, the inlet seemed to have aged a century. Shipwreck, half buried in sand. Gulls tearing last scraps. Ned called council of captains. They must shadow Euron's wake, anticipate next spectacle. Jarvan argued for turning east to intercept Jaime's trail along Shield Islands. Another Ironborn, Willa Pyke, suggested the smiling sea north of the Reach. Euron once boasted of hidden dens among steppe isles. Roderick, cleaning blood from Gauntlet, proposed a bolder guess. Pyrene, the pirate city rumored on Basilisk Rocks beyond Summer Sea. Wild, but impossible. Ned weighed options. Heartsick. Time bled. Each day Jaime remained captive. Tywin's patience thinned. And Robert. If he learned Crow's Eye displayed lion corpses on pikes, he might loose the hound and more besides. That twilight, a gull delivered an answer. It flew low over deck, dropped a crimson ribbon onto Ned's shoulder, stained with tar and blood, bearing a single bronze coin sewn through. Etched on coin the image of a kraken eye, on ribbon the words inked in trembling script. Casterly Shore days count 10, or he dies. Ned stripped salt-stiff cloth from coin, turned it over. The imprint was fresh. Crow's Eye minted his own mock currency. 10 days. They had spent 5 reaching Fair Isle. Could they reach Casterly Shore in 4 and still hunt? Perhaps, if storms spared them and luck held. Ned had assembled crew, explained message. Some balked. Sailing close to Lannister coast risked being branded invaders. Others understood stakes. War if Jaime died. All consented. They made ready, lightening holds, mending rig, rowing by night beneath hooded lanterns. The race north became blur of breakers and sleepless watches. Wind thrashed men at oars. Salt sores split palms, but no one quit. Jarvan steered by stars when clouds parted, by instinct when they did not. Roderick led drills. Grapple hook, tower climb, quick release of ballast. Ned spent hours at bow. Spyglass fixed on horizon, brightening and dimming with each lightning flash. On the third day of this mad sprint, seawater turned greener, shallower. They skirted small fishing hamlets belonging to Crechall lords. No banners flown, nets abandoned. Word of lion loss had reached here. Ned's stomach tightened. If coast folk fled already, Tywin's ships might patrol just beyond headlands. Yet no galleys appeared. Dusk of the 4th day, they counted 9 since message. Sea Dragon lay hove to beneath cliffs rising like mailed fists. The sky bled red behind Blackwater Bay's far haze. In that half-light, they spied shapes northward, bonfires on beach, arranged in spiral. Above them, a banner snapped. Crow's eye wreathed by flame. Euron dared them come. Ned conferred quick. Launching longships onto unknown shoals in twilight risked grounding. Yet waiting till dawn forfeited last hours before deadline. Decision made. Half crew to oars, half to bows. Silent approach. Storm clouds bruised moon. Silhouettes flickered as fires crackled. Distant voices chanted sea shanty, twisted into hymn of slaughter. Sea Dragon crept inside reef teeth, scraping once on hidden shoal. Sparks of panic, but hull held. Ned led shore party. Roderick, Jarvan, 8 Ironborn, who swore loyalty to New Order, and 2 Northern archers. Ice gleamed naked in his fist. Waves damped boots as they waded through shallows, clambered rocks, crouched among dune grass. The spiral bonfires sat in sandy hollow, heat pulsing. Figures circled. A dozen reavers, masks of painted bone, weapons glinting. At center stood Euron, arms raised, clutching half-burned tome bound in red leather. Rumor said he carried a sorcerer's diary plundered from Ashai. Behind him, a single stake held Jaime, bound, stripped to breeches, wounds laced with salt to keep bleeding. The Kingslayer's head lolled, but when flames flared his eyes snapped open, furious and lucid. Euron spoke words in Valyrian or some older tongue, each syllable falling like stones into still pond. Reavers echoed refrain, "What is dead may never die, but rises again, harder, hungrier." With each chant, 1 ton of driftwood tossed onto pyre. The spiral gradually closed inward. Ned signaled. Archers raised bows. He waited for lull, Euron turning to address Ocean. Ned's shout cut wind. "Euron Greyjoy." The reavers froze. Euron's head cocked, patch flashing. "Well met, Stark." His voice rolled like surf over steel. "Come to witness lions drowning. You were in time. 9 days past, 10th begins." He gestured to tide. "Sea comes soon." Ned moved into light, ice gleaming silver. Roderick and others fanned, bows drawn. "Release Jaime. Charter stands. Betray your king again, and Kraken banners burn on Casterly Rock's walls." "May." Euron laughed, step pirouetting between flames. "Burn banners if you like. I burn souls." He held aloft book. Flames flickered unnatural green. I read tongues older than Godswood whispers. "I see roads you pave, roads of grain and peace, but roads crack under weight of gold lions. Better salt path that slithers." He flung book into fire. Sparks hissed emerald. Ned advanced. "You drown yourself in madness. You think chaos crowns you, yet it buries your house." "House?" Euron sneered. "I am house and storm both. World is barnacle-crusted keel, waiting to be carved. He drew blade. Curved pirate scimitar rippled with dark lacquer. But choose, Stark. Lion's life for your treaty, or lion's death for your honor. One path. Archers loosed. Arrows hissed, but firelight warped sight. Euron spun, blade flicking two shafts aside. Third grazed his arm. Reavers charged. Roderick met first, sword clanging. Ned hurled himself toward stake, hewing burning brand aside. Heat blasted lungs. He felt ice bite rope, felt Jaime slump. Reaver lunged, Ned parried, steel ringing. Jaime sagged but kept footing, wild rage powering him despite wounds. Chaos erupted. Jarvan's dagger found throat, sand froth with blood. Flames toppled as bodies collided. Euron vaulted logs, sword dancing arcs of smoke. He lunged at Ned, ice turned blow but weight jarred arms. Euron grinned, blood trickling from arrow graze like black paint. Another dance wolf. Roderick crashed into Euron's flank, scimitar tangled with broadsword. Ned dragged Jaime, one arm slung over shoulder, backpedaling toward dunes. Arrows flew uneven, reavers closed. Jarvan took axe to knee and roared before sinking blade into attacker's gut. Fire roared higher, bed by sorcerer's tome. Green tongues licked sky. Ned reached skiff beach. Archers waved, covering. He shoved Jaime aboard. "Row," he ordered. But oarsmen stared behind. Roderick still fenced Euron, alone now as Ironborn and Reavers alike bled or fled. Sand smoked. Footsteps traced glowing murals. Ned cursed, thrust ice into skiff floorboards, and sprinted back. Heart thunder. Roderick faltered. Armor split at shoulder. Euron pressed advantage, blades singing. Ned barreled into their orbit, parried strike meant for Roderick's neck. Sparks spun. Roderick sagged but smiled grim thanks. 3 heartbeats where world narrowed to metal, flame, roar of surf. Euron's scimitar snaked left, feinted, slashed right. Ned caught, riposted, foot slid on embers, regained stance. His mind catalogued angles automatically. Sir Dane's lessons at tourney lists, Jory's drills in Winterfell yard. But Euron fought like storm, unpredictable. Each motion part dance, part drunken lurch. Twice ice-kissed cloth of patch. Twice scimitar skated along Ned's vambrace. A shout. From dunes, archers reloaded. Euron pivoted, scooped handful of sand, flung it in arc. Sparks wheeled. Roderick cried out, eyes seared. Ned swung blind, felt blade slice air. When vision cleared, Euron had retreated atop charred stake ring, raising both arms to moon. "I give you Kingslayer," he called, voice ragged with exhilaration. "One life, one debt paid." But debt between wolves and krakens is never settled. He touched fingers to patch. The eye will open again. Then, with impossible speed, he vaulted into darkness beyond Fire Ring. Down bluff toward roaring surf. Ned chased but slope crumbled, loose shale sliding underfoot. By the time he regained balance, only waves remained, black and endless. Roderick staggered up, cloth pressed to eyes. "Gone?" "Gone," Ned confirmed, chest heaving. They hauled survivors to skiffs, rode desperate strokes. Behind them flames devoured spiral, sparks trailing skyward like souls unmoored. Jaime lay in bottom, breath shallow yet fierce. He muttered curses about salt and bastards. Ned half smiled despite exhaustion. The lion still roared. Dawn found Sea Dragon beating east along Lannister coast. Sail reefed to ease wounded. Roderick's eye wept but sight remained. Jarvan bound knee, silent with pain yet steering. Grain Road lagged, but afloat. 2 Reaver prisoners moaned in hold. Imi demanded wine and sword in first hour awake. Ned refused sword but poured wine. They spoke tersely. Jaime's pride smarted, yet gratitude flickered beneath sarcasm. "I owe you debt, Stark. Doubtless my father will insist I repay in gold, rather than thanks." "I want peace, not gold," Ned answered. Jaime snorted. "Peace is coin, no Lannister mints. But you may buy time." Father recognizes a rescuer's tale when told. They reached Lannisport on 7th day of escape. Galleys of red and gold formed cordon, war horns blaring. Ned hoisted white banner. Tywin Lannister himself rode quay, flanked by host of crimson cloaks. His gaze when Ned disembarked was keener than ice, yet he inclined head small fraction. Acknowledgement of deed, not friendship. Jaime limped forward, shouted greeting, embraced his sire. Tywin's gauntlet hovered a breath before returning embrace, lion's pride allowing moment of paternal relief. Then golden eyes turned to Ned. "My son returns alive," Tywin said, voice gravel. "House Stark earns consideration." He eyed Kraken Wolf banner on Sea Dragon's mast. "Yet you sail under curious colors." Ned told tale. Of charter, of Euron's treachery, of Balon's condemnation, of rescue. Tywin listened, lips thinning. When Ned finished, silence lengthened. Finally Tywin said, "Your peace hinges on Greyjoy's leash, and on Crow's eye slipping into oblivion. I will not war if Jaime stands breathing, but neither will I wait on chance. Send me Euron's head, and perhaps my longships remain moored." "Nander." Ned inclined head. "We hunt him still." "Hunt quickly," Tywin said, then pivoted to aids. "Provide these men fresh stores. Safe harbor 2 nights. No longer." That night Ned dined in Gilded Hall among lion banners. Conversation edged like swords yet avoided draw. Jaime toasted rescuer. Robb Starkskill whispered to Ned privately, "I wish we'd crossed swords different day. You swing heavier than rumor." Ned answered, "And you bleed less than stories say." They shared thin laughter, bridge between honor and rivalry. Second dawn. Scroll arrived from Pyke. Asha and Theon returned. Repairs underway. Treaty holding captain's allegiance despite mourning. Balon pledged fleet to corner Euron. Another raven from King's Landing arrived on Jaime's heels, Robert's wrath cooling at news of rescue, but demands trial for Euron. Casterly Rock agreed. Stannis withheld fleet for fortnight. Realm balanced on blade but not yet bleeding. Sea Dragon ready to sail west again, to join Hunt, deliver Tywin's message to Balon, and plant seed of new accord on shores of doubt. Before departure, Tywin offered Ned a single gift, cask of arbor gold his brother Kevin had preserved. Ned accepted, understanding symbolism. Gold sweeter than vengeance, if only for a moment. When sails filled and harbor shrank behind, Ned watched sun rise over Casterly Rock's shadow and felt, for first time in many nights, a flicker of genuine hope. They had bought breathing space, thin as morning mist, but real. Peace would demand more voyages, more blood perhaps, but it had not drowned. On quarterdeck, Theon stood braced on crutch, leg bound but eyes bright. He gazed east toward home he had once scorned. "Do you think roads will hold, Lord Ned?" Ned laid hand on his shoulder. "Roads crack," he said, "but men mend them. We just proved it. We will prove it again." Wind carried them seaward, white crests hissing beneath hull. Somewhere beyond horizon Euron Greyjoy rode storms, eye fixed on realms he sought to rend. But behind Sea Dragon stretched a cord of alliances, charters, and shared blood that did not break when tested. Perhaps that cord would thicken. Braid tight enough to bind krakens, wolves, and lions to a future no single blade could sever. And if not, if storms returned fiercer, Ned Stark resolved that he would stand on whatever shore they struck, ice in hand, heart steady, and remember dawns like this one, when the sea smelled of promise instead of ruin. The journey rolled on beneath widening sky, and with every oarstroke, every billow of canvas, Ned felt another heartbeat in the great uncertain body of Westeros. A realm not yet dead, and therefore still capable of rising harder and stronger than before. PGSQL. Ocean mists veiled the prow of Sea Dragon as she cut west across the sunset sea. Her patched but proud sail throbbing beneath a lopsided crescent moon. 3 nights had slipped by since the rescue at Casterly Rock, and the world felt momentarily weightless, as though each breath Ned Stark drew existed in the hush between one great hammerfall and the next. He stood at the rail, gloved fingers trailing a salt-sprayed line like a blind man reading fate. Beneath, The hull groaned with every swell, yet the rhythm soothed him. A ship in motion, no matter how burdened, was easier to guide than a realm at rest. On the quarterdeck, Roderick Castle murmured to the helmsman, his bandaged eyes still sore but serviceable. Jarvan One Eye leaned over a chart lit by shielded lantern, cross-checking bearings. Tidemark and Grain Road followed astern, spectral shapes in the haze, their lanterns bobbing faintly. Jaime Lannister had remained behind in his father's fortress, at Tywin's insistence and Maester Pycelle's command, leaving Ned with a letter sealed in red wax, a formal note of gratitude, and a curt promise to speak in Stark's favor should war's drums begin to beat. Ned reread the letter now, thumb brushing the lion seal, pondering the layers of courtesy and threat. Jaime's compliment might sway Robert, but Tywin's deeper motives remained veiled. Would he truly reign in his fleet while Euron roamed? Or was the delay only a tactical pause? Sundering those questions would demand caution laced with blunt honesty. A balance Ned had practiced all his life, yet never fully mastered. Below, on the main deck, Theon limped from mast to mast, testing his splinted leg with each rise of the keel. He had insisted on joining the voyage home, claiming Pyke was safer than Lannisport's gilded cages, that sea air would mend him faster than Maester's philtres. The crew had granted him gentle mockery. Stormwalker, they called him, half in admiration, half in jest, but there was pride in their voices. It warmed Ned's heart. The boy had earned the respect of sailors born to salt. Soon Theon clambered up the companionway, bracing on the rail beside Ned. "The deck's steadier than my knee," he remarked, mask of casual humor tugging at his mouth. "Still, I'd wager I can outpace Sir Roderick in a duel by next moon." "Perhaps," Ned admitted, lips twitching, "provided Sir Roderick agrees to stand on a rolling barrel, blindfolded." Theon snorted, then fell sober. Euron will not cower in some cave after losing his prize. He'll wish to strike grander yet, something that sings in every tavern before the first leaf turns. Ned gazed over the dark water, picturing a lone black sail slipping across horizons no watchtower guarded. Crow's Eye once sung, "Aye, we must deny him a chorus." He tapped the rail. "How fares your sister?" "Better," according to Jarvan. The wind carried word from Hammerhorn. Black Wind's mast reset, sails almost ready. "She'll reach Pyke days after us." He inhaled the bitter wind. "Asha will not forgive Euron. Few will." Ned placed a steadying hand on the boy's shoulder. "Anger cuts two throats. One you aim for, one your own." "I know," Theon said quietly. "Still, if blood's the price of peace, let it be his." Lightning flashed far astern, silent and distant. Ned turned from the rail, motioning Theon below, reminding him that rest healed wounds better than empty vows. When the lad limped below deck, Ned climbed to the quarterdeck beside Roderick. "We'll catch dawn just before crossing Ironman's Bay," Roderick said, nodding to wan light edging the east. "If wind holds, tide will sweep us through Night's End. And if it dies, then oars," Roderick answered, without a hint of complaint. "These lads will row for pride if not coin." Ned clasped the old knight's shoulder. "See them rested while they may. War of muscle comes soon enough." In Bechamum. At dawn's gray hush, they glimpsed Pyke's jagged fortress rising like a monstrous crown, sea spray hallowing the bridges that connected its towers. A pall of wood smoke drifted above the sea tower. A sign, Ned prayed, of cooking fires rather than funeral pyres. Sea Dragon's horn blew twice, a greeting taught by the Treaty Council. 2 notes for peace, 3 for war. From the tallest watchtower, a matching 2 notes drifted back. Relief bloomed in Ned's chest. By midday they berthed at the familiar jetty. Balon Greyjoy was waiting, but the gauntness in his face struck Ned like an unexpected slap. The last fortnight had scraped flesh from bone, leaving a man carved by sleepless dread. Winter salt stubble lined his jaw. His cloak was plain wool, untended by heralds. Beside him stood Aeron Damfair, dripping from a recent blessing, and Maester Wendemere, his parchment-pale face creased with worry. "The lion breathes," Balon began before Ned could speak. Voice rasped raw. "But Euron hunts storms west of the arbor now." The Seven's tongues wag. Tywin demands his head. Robert demands oath by river and sea. And Stannis wants retribution in kind. Ironborn prisoners for Lannister prisoners. All while famine whispers at our doors, for fishermen fear to cast nets lest pirate galleys steal catch and crew. They know. We will answer each demand, Ned assured him. But first, bread before iron. Grain rose holds are laden. Wheat, oats, salted beef, barrels of apples, all courtesy of White Harbor and Stony Shore tithes. They will feed your people through winter's lean. Balon blinked, throat working. Pride warred with relief behind his weathered eyes. At last he rasped. I will see them unloaded, and I will repay coin for coin when peace finds harbor. Ah, peace must be hauled like anchor, Ned said. I have charter copies signed by Lord Tywin and witnessed by Jaime. Robert's seal awaits only my hand, delivering Jaime's account. And Tywin, though he will deny it, sent discreet note pledging to hold his fleets until Yuletide, provided riot does not spring from Pyke. Balon exhaled, shoulders easing a fraction. Words on parchment hold wind only so long. Euron must die. Ned nodded once. Aye. But his death must be law, not vengeance. I propose a joint hunt. Ironborn captains loyal to you. 1 northern bannerman to show realm's eyes upon us. And 3 Lannister knights to witness justice. We corner Crow's Eye, present him alive at River Run or Harrenhal, neutral ground, where he stands trial for piracy and kidnapping. Let him swing by king's decree, not family feud. Then. Aeron Damfair spat seawater onto planks. Try a man for piracy who serves the drowned god. He stands above Greenland laws. Ned faced him. Above Robert's law, perhaps. Yet even drowned gods cannot protect one who stole a king's knight under parley. If Ironborn do not deliver him, the realm will storm these islands and drown all. Nod. Aeron opened mouth, but Balon raised a hand. Enough. The wolf speaks truth. The drowned god bids us rule ourselves. He does not forbid alliances. We hunt Euron. He met Ned's gaze. Yet who commands? Ned hesitated, weighing politics. You hold Kraken's leash. I will serve as your hand at sea. Envoy between Stark, Baratheon, and Lannister. If we must strike, we strike together. Balon's jaw clenched at second seat, but he inclined head. So be it. He scanned Quay. Where's my daughter? Ned told him of Asha's repairs and expected arrival. The news seemed to tighten lines on Balon's brow, but sparked faint embers of fatherly hope. Maester Wennemere ushered him away, promising report on harbor supplies. Ned turned to Roderick and Jarvan. Ready the men, caution them the docks watch old grudges. The captains dispersed. Ned strode the seafoam-slicked planks toward the sea tower, Theon at his side. Settlers along the path paused to bow or merely stare. Some spat on ground to ward off mainland magic, but most bore expressions of dawning curiosity. What manner of wolf delivers grain and peace? Ned wondered if seeds of trust had already been sown. Inside the great hall he convened council, Balon's surviving captains, Asha's first mate Hemlish Har, and a pair of maesters to notarize. Scrolls were unrolled. Euron's sightings off Arbor, red wine stores raided. A merchant cog vanished near Flint Cliffs. Pattern suggested wide arc southwest-north. A loop of mayhem. Ned traced finger along charts. He seeks songs, he murmured. Hey, circles places where bards gather. Isle of Cedars next. Or Old Town's docks. Old Town's harbor is guarded by high-towered galleys. Hemlick noted. But Teague's Sound near the Shield Coast lies open. Minstrels ship there each summer for honey wine festivals. Ned nodded. We split fleet. Small pairs of swift hulls, hidden wolf-kraken banners, scour likely coves. One flagship draws Euron's eye, a decoy lumbered with visible gold. He cannot resist. Balon drummed fingers. Grain Road could serve. Fat and slow. Grain Road's crew too loyal, Jarvan warned. They'll fight, spoil trap. Ned replied. Then swap crew. Select men ready to feign fear. Lure Crow near enough for pincer. He glanced at Theon. Your knowledge of Euron's flair is valuable. Will you captain decoy? Theon's eyes widened. My leg cart's little weight. Bait need not duel, Ned assured. Just steer panic, rely on swifter escorts. Yet your presence lends authenticity, a Greyjoy prize more tempting. Balon studied son. Face unreadable. At length he grunted. The boy stands between two worlds. Let him bridge them. To Theon he added. Shame us not. Theon jutted chin, pride and nerves intermingling. I will bait the raven, he vowed. Plans crystallized. Sea Dragon and Tidemark, to escort Grainroad in loose formation, sails reef to appear sluggish. Jarvan to command pursuit cell. Asha's Black Wind expected to join a strike spear. 2 Lannister knights, Sir Kennet and Sir Parman, would arrive within a week to attest to fairness. Ravens flew. Over next 3 days, Pyke hummed with peculiar unity. Northmen hauled grain sacks into cliff granaries shoulder to shoulder with ironborn youths. A new banner, a direwolf entwined by kraken tentacle, fluttered atop the sea tower alongside Balon's black sails. Some islanders muttered it looked like strangling. Others saw embrace. Either way, it drew onlookers. Ned found stolen moments to quench letters to Winterfell. He told Catelyn of Theon's valor, Arya's dancing practice he missed, Bran's boundless curiosity. He unfolded Robb's last raven, victory at Autumn Hunt, Grey Wind's mischief, and smiled. Yet he hesitated to tell them all that rested on one man's madness. Instead, he sealed parchment with words, Pray for dawn's unbroken. Oh no. Black Wind appeared on horizon at dusk, 5th day. Sail-patched but proud. She brought more than tarry greetings. Aboard rode Sir Davos Seaworth, envoy of Stannis Baratheon and Saladhor Saan, Lysine sell sail with grin sharp as broken glass. Ned met them at pier. My lord hand, Davos greeted, knuckling brow. Stannis sends regards. And, warning. Storms and spies claim Euron courts, pirate kings upon stepstones. Promises them toll-free raids in exchange for monstrous alliance. Stannis demands that if Crow's Eye be taken, stepstone lords see proof, else they sail north to test your peace. Nagnasorer. Ned motioned them to chamber, hearing seagulls cackle overhead. We plan a trap, he explained, detailing decoy. Saladhor whistled admiration. Pretty snare, but add sparkle, the Lysine urged. A chest of rubies visible on deck, yes? Stannis provides rubies. Ned arched brow. Rubies. Nay, painted glass. Saladhor laughed. Pirates taste distance with eyes, not teeth. Agreement struck. Saladhor would loan 2 swift galleys to blockade escape route once Euron bit. In return, he asked modest salvage rights. Ned consented. Balon begrudgingly agreed. The sell sail had outrun many Ironborn before. Better to have him paid than hunting. At dawn on the 9th day, Sea Dragon, Grainroad, and Tidemark slipped from harbor. Fog clung to water, blinding distance. Ned stood on Grainroad's quarterdeck beside Theon. The merchant galley stank of fresh pitch. Crews had painted false patches to feign leaks. Amidships, a chest of rubies glistened beneath oilcloth, watched by 2 bored guards. Theon tugged cloak, jaw tight. I feel Euron's gaze already. Good, Ned murmured. Let it draw him closer. They sailed southwest at half speed. Canvas slack. Sea Dragon shadowed half a league away. Tidemark ranged ahead, scout and fog. Every gull cry set men flinching. On 3rd day of plotting, wind shifted warm, heavy with cedar, scent of reach shores. Jarvan's coated pennant fluttered. Sails to northwest. Fog parting revealed silhouette. A tall-masted war galley, hull blacker than midnight, figurehead carved like screaming crow. Euron. Tidemark tacked windward. Sea Dragon unfurled full canvas, cutting arc to intercept. Grainroad kept slow, crew erupting into staged panic. Ropes dropped, men shouting, chest revealed. Ned barked orders to feign confusion, while Theon limped across deck, waving arms dramatically. Crow's eye closed swiftly. Ned counted 3 smaller galleys trailing, Stepstone allies. Asha, with Black Wind and Saladhor's galleys, lurked beyond headland beyond. They'd emerge when prearranged horn blew. Ned felt heart hammer. "Hold," he whispered. Euron's flagship loomed, hull bristling with reavers, patch-eyed captains standing upon rail, arms spread. He called across waves. "The wolf feeds me gold now. How generous. Let me feast." Grappling hooks arced. Bang! Greenroad's crew shrieked convincingly as first lines bit rail. Ned signaled discreetly. Archers loosed but aim wide, encouraging boarders. Euron leapt first, blade gleaming. Theon limped forward, face taut with loathing. "Brothers, pup," Euron crooned. "Come see what songs your road builds." Theon drew dagger, brandishing. Kingslayer's thief," he spat. Ned stepped beside him, ice flashing out. That was signal. Horns blared from Sea Dragon, 3 notes slicing air. From behind headland Black Wind hurtled, oars churning white froth. Saladhor's twin galleys followed, sails taut. Titamark swung to smash one Stepstone ship's flank, wood splintered in thunder. Chaos erupted. Reavers realized, snare too late. Euron's men fought viciously, but they had boarded slow Greyjoy with minimal arms, expecting easy plunder. Ironborn loyal to Balon sprang from hidden holds, blades bared. On Greyjoy's poop deck Theon clashed with Euron, dagger against scimitar. Sparks spat. Theon's injured leg buckled but he rolled aside. Ned intercepted. Ice-carving arc so vast, Euron retreated. Meanwhile, Black Wind locked prow to Euron's flagship, Asha leading charge. Reaver and Loyalist clashed across rails, clangor lost beneath war horns. Saladhor's galleys loosed flaming arrows at Stepstone allies. One caught sail, fire blossoming. Ned and Euron circled. Patch glinted. Madness burned bright. "You chase roads like ants chase crumbs," Euron hissed. "But storm devours road and crumb alike." "Storms break on shields of unity," Ned retorted. Euron laughed, struck front hand, backhand. Ned parried, feeling heaviness of ice. Nearby Roderick joined, driving Euron sideways. Theon lunged with reserve dagger, slashing Euron's thigh. Blood spattered deck. Euron snarled, swung pommel into Theon's temple. Boy crumpled. Fury surged in Ned. He advanced with 2 heavy strokes. Euron staggered. Patch knocked free, revealing empty socket, ringed by tattooed spiral. A hush seemed to fall amid battle's roar, as though abyss within that socket drank sound. Then Euron spat blood, raised whistle to lips, blew shrill note. From flagship's hold burst green-black canisters. Wildfire bombs pilfered from lice. Ned realized too late. Reavers hurled them across rails toward Greyjoy's deck. Glass shattered, emerald flame roared. Sailcloth caught instantly, heat blistering. Asha saw and screamed orders. Her crew rolled seawater barrels, dousing. Saladhor's galleys launched grapnels, pulling burning Stepstone ship away before flames spread. Yet, Greyjoy's midships billowed inferno. Ned dragged unconscious Theon toward Bow, shouting retreat. Roderick covered flank. Euron backflipped to rail, cackling. "Let the road burn, wolf." Ned hurled throwing knife. Hilt clipped Euron's shoulder, but Crow slipped overboard, plunging into opaque turbulence. Flames roared higher. Deck beams popped. Ned heaved Theon across gangplank to Sea Dragon, nearly collapsing. Jarvan's men hacked rope, freeing Greyjoy before fire reached powder stores. They shoved off. Moments later wildfire pockets detonated, sending emerald pillars sky high. Greyjoy split in 2, sinking with deafening hiss. Battle around them waned. Euron's flagship, holed by Black Wind's ramming, listed badly. Stepstone allies fled burning, sails aflame. Loyal Ironborn subdued remaining boarders. Through sparks Ned scanned water, no sign of Crow's eye. Asha shouted triumph, but Ned felt dread. The storm never dies where you watch. They tallied losses. 23 dead. Twice that wounded. Theon awoke, head bandaged, eyes dazed yet fierce. Is he drowned? Ned knelt. No body, but he bleeds. And road stands. Survivors towed, captured flagship, haul of stolen silks, and plunder recovered. Wildfire's sulfur stench lingered, eerie glow still flickering beneath waves long after sunset. At council aboard Sea Dragon, Asha pressed to scour water for Euron's corpse. Saladhor shrugged. Dead men float tomorrow or next, or not. Roderick cautioned tide sweeping to hidden coves. Ned concluded they would escort prize and prisoners to Old Wake, rally, then return search. Balon's letter demanded proof. Lannister knights desired prisoner for trial. Without body, tension remained. Old Wick greeted them with black cliffs and chanting priests. News of victory preceded sails. Crowds gathered, some cheering, some mourning. Balon arrived on swift cutter, eyes scanning for Euron in Ironstad. When told of escape, his face mottled gray. One serpent head severed, tail still slithers, he muttered. Yet he clasped Theon's shoulder, voice gruff with pride. You lured him, bled him, burned his fleet. Isles will sing that. Ned presented charter copies signed by Saladhor and Lannister knights, reaffirming peace. Balon affixed Kraken seal anew, promising trade stocks for winter. Stepstone prisoners were hanged on tide posts as warning. Maester stitched wounded, stored grain. That night, Ned walked alone along beach littered with kelp. Moon hung like shard of bone. He recalled Euron's whistle, single note commanding chaos, and shivered. Could such a man drown without fanfare? Or would rumors bloom again, crow with 9 lives? Footsteps crunching gravel approached. Asha. She handed Ned small object. Silver ring set with dark stone. Found wedged in plank of sinking ship, she said. Euron's signet. Proof he bleeds real blood. Son. Ned turned ring in fingers. Inside band a motto engraved. We owe only the sea. He closed fist around it. Proof enough for Robert? For Tywin? Perhaps, Asha said. But not for father. He needs corpse. Corpses feed wolves, Ned replied softly. But roads feed peoples. Let ring serve until body found. She sighed. I hoped for end. Now we clutch tokens. Ned looked across restless surf. Ends seldom come clean. Peace is path walked, not wall climbed. Tomorrow we walk again. Medina. Why? Ravens flew to King's Landing, Casterly Rock, Dragonstone. Battle won, grain delivered, treaty stands, Euron escaped wounded. Responses trickled back over weeks. Robert, half drunk yet lucid, commended Ned and demanded relentless pursuit. Tywin withheld praise, but recalled his war galleys to Lannisport for winter refit, citing need to prepare for more civilized threats. Stannis, grudging, agreed to postpone punitive fleet, while Ironborn hunted fugitive. Realm exhaled, tension eased, though not dissolved. Winter's first true gale swept Iron Islands late in month. Snow-laced seawater, painting cliffs white. Ned watched it from Sea Tower, coffee steaming in mug, joints aching. Caitlyn's latest letter brought tidings. Bran's first successful climb post-fall, Sansa's betrothal talks rumor. Arya's Balestra lessons championed by Syria. Robb drilled levies for winter patrol. Ned felt home tug like tide. Yet, tasks remained. He spent winter drafting codices, tariff rates, escort schedules, salvage law, Mester exchanges. He taught eager Ironborn youths fundamentals of mainland contracts, in return learning subtleties of wave pattern reading. He sat long hours with Balon beside hearth, discussing sons lost, prices paid. Pride thawed in that light, though never melted entirely. Early frost sun one morning ravens clattered. Scout reported strange wreck. Beached on lonely light. A small cutter bearing black sails, riddled with barnacles. No crew, but inside cabin a patch of sable leather and scimitar of foreign make. No sign of body. Nearby, in sand, sigil drawn with driftwood. Single eye, weeping blood. Ned read report. Set parchment down. Balon stared at wall, silent. He lives, Balon said at last. Ned nodded. Wind still carries storm. Balon inhaled sharply. Then we keep roads guarded. And hearts, Ned added. Another winter moon passed. Grain convoys ran to Deepwood Moat and Flint Cliffs. Ironborn galleys escorted merchant cogs through Cape Kraken. Lannisport trade resumed. Hightower scribes hailed, miracle of the two kings of salt and snow. Yet minstrels in smoky taverns still sang of Crow's Eye and his emerald fire, of lions bound to stakes, of wolf with silver blade. Children repeated tales with wide eyes. Songs, Ned thought, spread faster than ships. Spring teased with sun one mid-morning. When Maester Wendemere burst into council, parchment waving. Message from Stepstones, he stammered. Pirate stronghold torturers deep burned to cinders. Survivors babble of winged shadow dropping wildfire. No crew, only captain with black wings. Silence fell. Asha cursed under breath. Theon, now walking freely, clutched dagger hilt. Balon looked to Ned. So storm flies south. Ned's voice was quiet steel. Then we hold north steady. That night, alone beneath Hearttree transplanted into Pyke's sparse godswood, a sapling Ned had offered as symbol. He knelt in cold moss, looking at crimson leaves fluttering above sea. He spoke, though wind swallowed most words. Keep roads whole. Keep children safe. Let storm spend itself far away. Leaves stirred. No answer came, but he thought he heard the faintest cracking of bark, like ancient wood granting hesitant assent. No. 5 years would pass before Euron's shadow finally fell across Westeros in full wings tipped with dragonbone, myths made flesh. But when that darkness came, it would find islands provisioned, bannermen allied, forces drilled, and hearts steeled by half-decade of tenuous peace. Peace born the day a northern wolf set foot on basalt bridges and offered grain instead of siege. And in those intervening seasons, while roads grew grooved by wheels of trade and laughter, returned to marketplaces once haunted by corsairs, folk would look upon the banner of direwolf, and Kraken intertwined and speak, not of strangling but of strangest friendship. Two proud beasts, locked together not in death but in guardianship. Children on Iron Islands learned mainland tongue. Northern lads learned sea knots. Maesters traveled between holdfasts without escorts, carrying cures for scurvy or frostbite. When storms rose, Kraken sails sheltered merchant cogs. When wildlings pushed south, northern longaxes marched, their supply galleys crewed by ironborn kin. Some whispered the old gods frowned on such mixing. Others claimed, drowned God laughed with pleasure. Either way, bloodshed lessened, coffers swelled, and graves dug for wrath alone grew fewer. Ned Stark returned often to Winterfell, yet always back to Pyke. Hand upon ice, eye on horizon. He knew roads crumble if left untended. Each spring he walked the sea tower wall with Balon, reading ravens, adjusting tariffs. He sparred with Asha and Theon on Stone Yard, their laughter rasping like gulls. He even shared night fires with Aeron Damfair, debating scriptures washed ashore, centuries past. Yet every visit he glanced seaward, searching for a single black sail. When winds howled, he tasted memory of wildfire's green roar. He kept Euron's signet ring and pouch beside Stark's direwolf token, 2 circles of metal weighty as prophecy. Some nights, drifting to sleep in chamber carved from stone salt had kissed for eons, Ned imagined final reckoning. Crow's Eye standing before kings, patch dangling, storm shackled. He pictured lifting ring, dropping it into basin of still water, letting ripples mark end of one era and dawn of another. Then he would walk a road unburdened. Until that dawn, he carried weight. But it was weight he chose, forged of honor and necessary compromise. And when he rose each morning to watch dawn spill molten gold across waves, he felt again that hush between hammer blows, and he reminded himself, the hammer has not yet fallen, but I know its rhythm. I have matched its pace, and when it strikes again, I will stand anvil strong enough to shape what come. In this way, the road Ned Stark built, planked with grain guarded by kraken-clad oarsmen, endured winter's bite, summer's flame, and storms of men's making. It was not smooth, not straight, and never safe. But it was a road nonetheless. A path across water, carved by courage, mended by grief, traveled by those willing to dream that old enemies might share more than bitter pasts, and that even the darkest eye, though it might never close, could one day blink and see dawn reflected in waters it once sought only to churn.